Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah.
All right, Brissett, last chance, drops back, has time, fires to the end zone. I think it's caught.
What?
Touchdown, Browns! David Njoku! I got to check the replay, make sure he's in, but they've called it a touchdown.
David Njoku.
Whoa, baby! Nick Chubb. Touchdown, Nick Chubb!
There it is.
He gets in, baby!
There it is.
The Browns win it! Nick Chubb! Oh, no, there's a flag!
No, please don't talk. Please don't.
It's on the defense. Penalty declined. Browns win. Oh, man. Nick Chubb runs it in for 3 yards, and the Browns beat the Buccaneers in overtime, fellas. How about that?
Gee, Bush, that had to be the hardest one.
There you go. There you go.
Your TV was behind Bull's call, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
It was his stuff.
Like 2 plays ahead.
It has progressively gotten worse throughout the season. Bull is now about a play and a half ahead of everybody. And so
You know how you do it? Put Jimmy in an earpiece and listen to it on the
That's
radio.
true.
You get it in real time.
That's true.
My goodness, dude, I was over here. Then he was like, "Oh, there's a flag down." Everybody in the chat was like,
No!
For some reason,
Fortunately, the penalty was not on them.
because we stream at home, and for some reason, the Fox Sports app at my house was showing the Jets game. So my son was trying to watch the game, and he's like, "Dad, I can't get the game." So here I am trying to work, and I got my phone up on FaceTime. I'm like, "Here, just watch it this way."
I've done that.
So he's watching the game on his iPad, and I'm like this, trying to watch the game.
What are you streaming?
Wow.
Oh, my God.
Man, it is. Well, I mean, the good news is, and this is our first victory Monday in forever.
Well,
Because when they beat the Bengals, it was a Monday night game.
that was Victory Tuesday.
So it was a victory Tuesday.
And when they beat the Steelers, it was Thursday.
Yeah, so we finally get a Sunday win.
This
So
is
this is our
our
second
victory
Sunday
Monday
win.
since
since
week
the
2?
opener.
Since week 1.
Since Carolina.
Well, yes,
Yes, it's the opener.
Since
Yeah.
the opener.
And on that Monday, I threw up. Hopefully I
No
won't
throwing
today.
up today. No throwing up today. Wow. Is all you can say.
Yeah.
Wow, what a win. I mean,
I still
they
can't
need
believe
overtime,
Njoku
they do
caught
it.
that ball. That was an
I can't
amazing
either.
catch.
We're gonna rate that catch.
Yeah.
There it is, the scene of the crime.
There it is.
We're gonna rate that catch in Browns history. I know it's to get them to 4-7, so they've had more meaningful catches,
Sure.
absolutely. But just in terms of athleticism and where it was within that game, I can't think of one off the top of my head that athletically was more impressive. We'll talk about that later. Tim Couch is going to join us. I'm glad he is. Because really now the big, and we've been talking about it a little bit, but really the big focus moving forward is how is this team different under Deshaun Watson? We think they're going to be better. We're also going to grade Jacoby Brissett, which I can't wait to hear what you guys give him for his 11-game grade. I think by any standard, he wildly overachieved. I also think he may have made some money for the future. This guy's more than a serviceable backup.
Sure.
He really is. Now, how much of this was due to the fact that Tampa Bay's offense is as one-dimensional an offense as I can ever remember seeing in recent NFL history?
Big part of it, yeah.
I mean, they just can't run the ball, period. Which, again, we talked about this at the beginning of the season. We talked about this at the trade deadline. Why they didn't make a move to go after, especially when they know that this might be the last go-round with Brady. Why they didn't make a move to go after Hunt, I'll never understand it.
I understand why they didn't do it before the season because Fournette was coming off a good year.
Yeah, but you saw
and
him
they
at training
drafted
camp, Bull.
they drafted White.
He showed up. He looked terrible.
He did, but at the trade deadline, it would have maybe by the trade deadline they would, even though they wouldn't say this to Brady, maybe they were like, we're not winning it.
All this said, they're 5-6. They're in first place.
Yeah, did Atlanta lose? Or they
Yes.
Yeah.
Washington
Okay,
beat
so yeah.
Atlanta.
They're on the last
19-13.
play of the game, I think.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a bad division.
And Heineke's like 5-1 as a starter.
The Duke could play.
The entire
got
NFC,
some moxie.
The entire NFC East is over 500. It was a terrible
Nuts.
division the last couple of
Nuts.
years.
And then the entire NFC South is below 500.
Right,
500.
yeah.
And then you've got the Browns at 4-7. Now, mathematically, we should state this off the top.
Please.
There is still a path. But I got to tell you, it is over the river, through the woods, down a canyon, up a 3,000-foot mountain at 80-degree pitch, and it's covered with ice. So could they get there? Yeah. Technically, you could start saying, well, if this team does this and this team does that, but it's such a long shot that even with the win, their odds of making the playoffs went from 2% to 5%.
Yeah, I saw in 538 that it was 7%, but either way,
it's an uphill climb.
You can't even worry about the other teams.
No.
You got to win out, and at that point,
yes,
yeah,
you have zero chance if you don't win out. So and the odds of winning out are very slim.
So let us be real.
No matter how good a team is, they're not making the playoffs.
Let's be realistic. The chances of winning out. I mean, could it happen?
It could.
It could. Will it happen? Probably not.
Here's the way I look at it, because I don't think they're going to get a wild card. They've lost to too many teams that they now have that they don't have the tiebreaker against. I think the path to this thing, and if you start doing it this way and just look at it this way, I think, yeah, with Deshaun Watson, there's absolutely a chance. The reason I say that is because they are, the way you have to look at it, 3 games out of first place with 6 games to play. So, I mean, we've seen crazier things. If you're a baseball fan and you followed the NL East this year, what the Braves did to catch the Mets was, on September 23rd, the chances of the Braves winning the division was probably low single digits. But everything fell into place. Now, because they have games left against the teams they're chasing, there is a path. Cincinnati sneaked one out yesterday against the Titans. Now, granted, they're playing without 2 of their best skill positions players, but the Ravens yesterday, I thought they would kind of pulled away and separated themselves. Now I look at the Ravens.
The Ravens,
I don't know.
The Ravens have right now. The Ravens have the tiebreaker against the Browns.
They do.
If the Browns win out, they could end up with the tiebreaker if the Ravens lost one other game in the division. But the Ravens.
But they play the Browns.
Right. So, no. I'm saying the Ravens would have to lose one additional.
Aside from that one.
Aside from that game. But the Ravens do it. Now, you thought they would have beaten the Jaguars yesterday, and they didn't. They don't. The only team they play that's over 500 the rest of the season is the Bengals. Yeah. That's it. So
super simple schedule.
But here, go ahead.
It's a formula to winning, right? There is, right? And part of the way you win is that everybody has to be on the same accord. There has to be a pathway of a game plan that is manageable that you can get everyone to buy into. Now, I was going to say I'll give Kevin Stefanski credit because I give him grief. Yesterday, he did what was right. He played his odds right. He didn't run away from running that ball. Right? He did not. He kept
coming back to it.
He kept coming back. And did you listen to the announcers in the game? And now that they were even talking about the coach, Todd Bowles from Tampa Bay, saying, this is what the Browns do. Why they go away from it, I have no idea. I have no idea why they go. Everyone else sees it. But yesterday, he played his odds right. He kept running the ball.
Chubb got to 20.
He got over 20, and we won again. I'll say this.
Misleading
when
stat.
It got down to the thing, I don't care what you say it was misleading or not. Yeah. Every time he's run over 20, they
Browns
won.
Browns are 2-0 with Anthony Schwartz as the carry.
So, but we're not talking about
Anthony Schwartz.
We're not talking about Anthony Schwartz.
They're undefeated when they give the ball.
Just stay where we are, right?
Give the ball.
Don't deflect. Stay where we are. Every time he's run over 20, they won. And the other thing is, you stay committed.
If you love analytics, and you could say it's a misleading stat or whatever you want.
Analytics would disregard that.
You stay.
The cause and effect. The cause and effect is not. There's no proof of cause and effect.
I mean,
at 4-0, the sample size is 11 games, and it's right now it's 100%.
They get. It's not 11.
It's 11 games.
The cause and I'm not going to argue with you because it's obviously no cause and effect.
If you stay committed to what you do best.
Yeah.
Most times you give yourself the best.
They threw more than they ran.
I don't care what sport you're in.
Well, they always
threw more than they ran.
I don't care what sport you're in. If you stay committed to what you do best, you give yourself the best chance to win.
Well, you're playing to your strength for sure. Jason, you want to jump in?
Well, leaving the locker room yesterday, I was amazed that they believe. It doesn't matter what we think.
Right.
Like we think they're in, they're out. They 1,000,000% believe that they're in this. That it's not just like.
They have to.
They do. You got to have something to play for these last 6 games. But winning that game, they stole that game.
They stole it.
To win the game the way that they did, they know they've got Deshaun coming back. Offensive guys feel like, hey, man, we're ready to go. And they absolutely believe that they're still in this. I think there was a clip in Njoku walking off the field saying, anyone who's counting us out, forget it or something like that. This ain't over.
Well, they get their guy back.
And they all believe that.
Yeah.
They wholeheartedly believe that this is still a race.
That's important, too. Okay, I know you say that you have to believe if you're a player, but I've been around teams where the situation is they have to believe and they don't.
Yeah.
And in this particular case, the fact that they do, you can't do something if you don't think you can do it. And that's just the way life is in anything, whether it's football or life.
Right.
Before you do, you have to believe. And I'm glad to hear that you say that to a man, they believe.
The human side of it is huge here. I think we look at stats. I think we look at touchdowns. I think we look at some of the ancillary parts. But the human part of it is why I said last week, I think the Browns have a great shot at winning this game. All of the things pointed to the Buccaneers, Tom Brady being there, offense, they got a great, and the Buccaneers played great defense. I mean, when Jacoby Brissett was dropping back and throwing the football, they were all over the guys. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like they left anything on the table for them, but you never underestimate the fact that you had Jacoby Brissett, and a lot of people appreciated the level
his professionalism.
His professionalism, the way he led through. Because to be honest with you, they left about 3 to 4 more wins on the table for Jacoby. Yeah. And then on top of that, what they did, they got that boost of energy, that little kick. Because now it's something to be said. It's almost like being sick on Christmas, right? If you're sick on Christmas, you still get to open presents. If you're sick in the middle of July, ain't nothing to look forward to. All you know, you can't go outside and it's hot. The Browns may have to figure some stuff out, but it's easier figuring it out when you get to open a present like Deshaun Watson.
Jacoby Brissett, by the way, finished 8th through 11 games, 8th in PFF grade, 11th in just passing grade. The overall grade factors in rushing and some other things, but still 11th at passing the ball. Which
That's
is
top third, no matter how you slice it. And
ahead of guys like Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, Lamar Jackson, Derek Carr, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, Jimmy Garoppolo, and others.
You think played great. You think the Broncos would right now take Jacoby Brissett over Russell Wilson? Who, by the way, it's like Russell. It's like someone usurped the skill out of Russell Wilson. I've never seen a dramatic fall off.
The problem with Russell Wilson in Denver is trash. There's nobody there with him. There's nobody.
That's not true.
There's nobody there with him.
That's not true.
That's not true at all.
There's nobody.
He's got excellent receivers.
There's nobody there with him.
What do you mean there's nobody there? He's got good receivers.
McNuggets, I'm sitting here telling you, Jacoby Brissett had a top 5 Browns season of all time at quarterback.
No, of all time. What are you talking about?
Since 99.
Since 90, I don't live back there. I wasn't live back there. Bernie had all the stats.
That's not saying much.
Sipe had an MVP.
Yeah, since 99.
Since
there hasn't been a lot of good quarterback
Since 99,
seasons.
it might be top 3.
No. As much as I'm down on Baker, Baker still had at least one, if not 2 seasons.
I mean, we forget because Russell Wilson, Baker has forgotten how to play, but Baker Mayfield set the record for touchdown passes by a rookie. Yeah. I mean, the guy could play at one point.
I think the best,
and that season was
the
a fantastic
best Browns season since '99 was Derek Anderson.
2 seasons with Baker,
and then you got Anderson, the 2 Baker seasons,
and then you got Jacoby freaking Brissett.
Oh, Kelly Holcomb had a couple good years back in the day.
Tim Couch had 1 good season.
Right. Like,
Brian Hoyer played well that 1 year.
Yeah, I don't remember Jeff Garcia.
At the end of the day, G, and we're going to talk about Brissett with Tim Couch, and he exceeded our expectations 10, 20 to the 30th percentile extent. He still threw 12 touchdowns in 11 games.
That's exactly it.
He threw 12 touchdowns in 11 games.
If you compare Jacoby to the rest of the NFL, he's still below average.
Right.
But we had such a low bar for him coming in.
Right.
That's why. Yeah. And I'm in that group of like, oh my God, he far exceeded what I thought. Well, it's because we had no expectations for him whatsoever.
Well, listen, he managed the game like he was supposed to. He did beyond what we thought he was going to do. I will tell you this: it is again, if you talk about trying to make the playoffs here, you're trying to make a run.
I don't think we are really having a realistic conversation.
Well,
it's not realistic.
Until there's no pulse.
Right.
That's what fans.
So what we're talking about here is this: if you're talking about making a realistic run at having a chance, then that means you will do the things that's necessary to win. Running the ball is one. The second thing is don't do anything crazy. We didn't need no 2-point conversions, right? He played the odds. He said, I'm going to punt this ball away. I'm going to get a stop. Yeah. Those are the odds. Yeah. I'm putting the odds back in just regular football.
The odds are to sometimes go for a 2-point conversion.
Well, the problem is when people
other teams went for 2-point conversions and one.
I'm not a guy that...
But analytics say to go for one, I was told.
Here's my problem with analytics, and this is what I've always said.
I'm not a guy like that.
Analytics does not take into account the macro situation.
Who's your quarterback?
It takes into account the micro situation. 4th and 1. 4th and 2.
Exactly.
The macro of this situation was you win or lose on that call.
Jay,
win or lose.
Well, Kevin said, I didn't like the play call.
No,
right.
He said, I designed it, and I didn't like the play call, so they kicked the extra point.
The other thing is this. You cannot get, I don't care what sport you're in, the eye test is important.
It is.
And it tells you what is going on at that moment.
I couldn't agree more with you. And analytics has no room for that.
And when you stole the momentum, and you see Brissett come out there and throw a pass, and then Njoku catch it with one hand, you like, oh, hell no, I got to give him some more time. I got to give my guys some more time to continue.
I'm not going to take away the greatness of that play by getting stopped on the goal line.
You guys are now complaining about something that didn't happen. He didn't go for 2.
No, absolutely. We're saying that's the right
When
call.
analytics didn't say to go for 2, I was told by my analytics guru.
I had someone say it was, and this is funny. This is not what analytics is supposed to tell you. I had someone tell me that analytically it's a coin flip.
This is here.
A coin flip.
Let me tell you something.
I'm not going to let my chances of winning and losing come down to a coin flip.
By the way,
there's no skill involved in that.
This is not fantasy football. This is real deal in real
life.
time.
Yeah, right. And percentages matter.
I'm playing.
Your season ends at the goal line.
And by the way, Jacksonville went for 2 and 1, and it worked for them. So
sometimes your gut, you have to just play on your gut. What is your
no kidding?
What is your freaking gut?
Who's saying don't play for your gut? You got to have a balance.
When we talk about analytics and this, that don't play on my gut.
But the book, before analytics was a thing, the book said,
oh, Lord.
well, you go for the tie at home. You
go for the tie at home. You go for the win on the road.
I remember that.
I was told it depends on how much time.
I want that book.
Hey, it's on the road. You got to
now
go for
the
the
book
win.
used to be this thick. Now the book's this thick.
I know. But I'm just saying, before analytics
by the way,
was a thing,
if there were 5 seconds left instead of 45, he would have gone for 2. He would have, but we'll never know if it would have happened.
I don't.
It's the time.
I mean, obviously, at that point, you're going against Tom Brady, and a field goal beats you.
Right.
So,
anyway, it doesn't matter. It
doesn't matter. I think the right call was made. Look, I had someone tell me once that the right call is the one that worked.
Yeah.
The wrong call is the one that doesn't. And in this case, we're not hashing over. Can you imagine the pain right now if we were hashing over a missed 2-point conversion? You can't go there. It's too punitive. By the way, at 4-7, and I've said this a bunch, and we all know this, that Jets loss gets more painful every week.
We've said it from the day
when it happened. We said
what are you going to do?
This one will be the one we look back on.
Does anybody think the Browns are going to make the playoffs?
No.
No. Smart money says no chance.
I haven't thought it since the suspension went to 11 games. I didn't think they'd make the playoffs.
But here's what I will say.
But like Dumb and Dumber, I'm telling you there's a chance.
I will say
By the way, teams almost never, no matter how good they are, win 7 games in a row.
Here's what
almost never. It very rarely happens.
Here's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I've seen other teams do it against us. Why can't we?
And Bull, to your point, you're right. Almost never do you see a 7-game win streak.
Right.
However, almost never do you get a top 5 quarterback coming into a roster that still has life.
And the schedule is favorable.
The schedule's
crazy.
I actually think they got a decent shot to go 4-2, 5-1.
Yeah, sure.
To me,
I mean, Houston, New Orleans, and Washington, and Pittsburgh should be
If
winners.
you don't
right
win
there's
those 4, you shouldn't be in the discussion.
Washington is the most difficult game they'll play the rest of the season.
I agree with that.
Book it.
They're a dangerous team with
no,
Heineke.
I
It's
know the
weird to
Browns
say
have played
that.
well against the Bengals, but the Bengals and Ravens are still tougher games than Washington.
Agree with Bull.
Washington has something weird going on. I
They'll
watched
run the ball
entire
90
Eagles
times that game.
What's that?
They might run the ball 90.
and
Like
they
might have to.
Philadelphia,
Yeah, they might have to.
Watching the Bengals and watching the Ravens, I do not believe that the Bengals and Ravens are head and shoulders better. As a matter of fact, they coach terribly against the Browns. The Bengals do, and the Ravens have one guy.
Well, they should have beat the Ravens. They had them beat.
They had
Cooper
Ravens.
They did have them beat. They had
It's a
beat.
bad call.
I hear you.
Period.
But the Bengals and Ravens are better than Washington.
Agreed.
Yes,
They are.
yes.
Yeah.
But I believe Washington plays to their strengths.
Baltimore is home, though, right?
Washington went into
Baltimore's
Philadelphia
here.
and beat them boys, and then Washington Commanders will run the ball with that.
But the
that?
interesting thing
Robinson
is
gonna get ball
Taylor
100
Heineke
times.
sucks ass.
Yeah.
So in the end, they'll fall apart at the end.
So they're going to lose 2
He's
games.
played well.
He's played well,
He's
bro.
got to regress
But
to the
the
mean
interesting
at some
thing is he
point.
does suck ass. He does. He sucks ass.
That's 3.
By the way, can we talk about?
Yeah.
Are you ready to give Myles Garrett some credit? He came up big.
I've been giving him plenty of credit. I don't know what the rest of you have been.
Hey,
You've been killing him.
our three amigos. You got Myles Garrett had big time sack.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper,
Came
big
up
time run
After a
catch,
huge drop on that
after a huge
fourth.
drop.
By the way, did anybody have a problem with him going for it on 4th down there?
No. You have to there.
No.
It's the game.
Okay.
It's the game.
And then Nick
Again,
Chubb, of
situation.
course, finishing it off.
Yeah.
The Browns' 3 best players came up big, and we be asking where y'all be at sometimes, and they finally got it done.
You mentioned Miles. Here's where I'll give Miles credit. He's not himself. He's not going to be himself all year. He couldn't get his shirt on again.
I
after
remember
the game.
it. That's crazy.
He had yesterday after the game. He had to have help to get his shirt on. Like his arms just dangling. but it's self-inflicted. Like, it's an unnecessary injury.
Right.
He did it
If
to
it happened
himself.
on the field, he gets some slack.
That's exactly
not,
it.
Not the way it happened.
And he knows that.
I'm
and
sure
so
he does.
That's why he's not going to leave that field. And he knows he did this to himself, and he let his team down, and he's adamant that he's not going to let it derail his entire season.
Well,
For him to play and the pain that he was in, that fourth quarter, he wasn't really, he was invisible the first 3 quarters.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter and overtime, he was everywhere.
Made the big sack in the fourth quarter and a big sack in
And
overtime.
to play that way with his arm, I mean, I saw his arm dangling in the locker room.
By the way,
I
saw
don't want you.
him
I don't
need
want
help.
you to. I don't want you to forget this. That MJ Emerson.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lights
Wow.
out.
Wow.
Lights out.
He had a tough task, and Evans did not beat them
Lights
yesterday.
out.
He did nothing in
Godwin-
that game.
And I think Brady recognized. I would love to. I don't know if Brady was asked specifically about Emerson's play, but
Yeah.
it was obvious to me after 2 or 3 drives. Brady had cut off that side of the field because he knew that Emerson's physical matchup against Evans, he wasn't going to be able to get the ball.
Although
to him.
I think they should have reviewed that play at the end of the
I
half.
do too.
That
I
was
do.
a
I'm surprised
catch.
they did.
That looked like a catch to me.
I thought there were some really bad coaching decisions on the other sideline yesterday.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Why
I
they
agree.
didn't use that timeout at the end of regulation?
Oh yeah.
They let the
Yeah,
clock
right,
go
right.
from 15, I think, to 8.
Right, that's
I
what they
couldn't
did.
understand
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I want him to succeed, but there are times where I'm watching him going, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And you're right on the review.
Oh,
What do you,
man.
Use it.
It's a booth review,
It is a booth
but
review.
they got to the line so fast and snapped it
They
so
had no
quick.
chance.
So
Yeah,
I'm
they had
gonna
no
say
chance.
MJ Emerson at this point looks like the best cover person.
he's
we
the
have.
best. He's the best corner.
Yeah, he's been
There's
tremendous.
By far.
He's been their best.
Well, I
no
think
question.
if Ward is himself, Ward
stunning.
is better. But the way Ward has played this year, I would say that Emerson has been the best.
Emerson's
cover
been
guy.
by far the best this year. I mean, yeah, Ward's got a track record, but he hasn't played as well.
Well,
And-
look what Godwin did. Godwin went off yesterday.
Yeah.
Evans they had a lid on him.
But Rashad White had that one long run early. It was 35 yards, and they didn't run the ball at all. Tampa Bay did nothing on the ground outside of that one play.
And that's surprising. I mean, Tampa hasn't been able to run the ball all
No.
year, but they did against the Seahawks
There
2
were
weeks
teams,
ago.
though, Jay, that haven't been able to run the ball all year
And they just-
that set season highs
Yeah.
against
That's
the Browns.
exactly
But the
why I'm
Bengals
surprised
and
they
the
got away from it.
Buccaneers, the two teams that run the ball, although the Bengals have, since the Browns game, have run it a lot better for whatever reason. But for the most part this season, the Bengals and Buccaneers, two teams that don't run the ball a lot, don't like to run the ball a lot. Not surprisingly, the Browns had their best defensive efforts
Well,
against those two
and the
teams.
Bucs gashed them early with long runs.
I know,
on
that's
that
why I thought
opening
we were
drive.
gonna
It's
see
like-
it all
No, but it was really just that one run.
But I looked it up.
Yeah.
That whole opening drive, they were moving the ball on the ground. And I looked it up. I'm like, well, let's see what this week's magic number is.
Yeah.
It was 161, which is surprisingly high. That's what Tampa Bay's season high in rushing yards is, set against the Seahawks, who've been pretty good at stopping the run.
Yeah.
But that was that overseas game 2 weeks ago. And I thought, here we go again. And then the Browns, to their credit, stoned Tampa after that.
They did.
But I don't put any stock in
Be-
it whatsoever because
be-
I still don't think there's
I don't
Have
think
you
they'll
seen
fix the
Dominic
problem.
Sue with the
Tackles.
Eagles yet? Has anybody paid attention to what he's
No,
doing?
I have not seen
I haven't really.
Last night, he looked like he was 5 years younger than we last saw him. He was an impact
Again,
player
he
for
may
that
not have
team.
wanted to sign with the
No,
Browns.
he didn't. He clearly
Yeah.
didn't. I think he did at the beginning of the season. He was clearly, the Browns were in the mix, according to 2 reports. But he automatically has energized that Eagles defensive front. The key to the Eagles, I know that, I know their quarterback is playing lights out, and their receiver depth is unbelievable.
Yeah.
They just keep coming at you with great receivers. But they are so dominant up front on the line.
That's how they smash you.
You can't. You're
It's
not going
just
to run
incredible how dominant they are.
Well, see, I look at it like this. When you look at the difference between the teams that are winning and the teams that is trying to get there, it's can you stop the run? Can you run when you need to run? And can we unlock some things outside of that? Ohio State has shown us the way. If you can't, so we say it every week on this show, if you can't stop the run, you are dead. You will never beat a good team because after they start running the ball, now it's in your head. Now you got to allocate resources stopping it. And I'm here to tell y'all, the new wave of saying, okay, we can stop the run, safeties are now corners. There is no strong safeties anymore. Like there's no
Nobody sitting in
there's
the
no
back.
Darren Woodsons or Ronnie that's coming up.
Rod
They
Woodson-
are
Rod
all
Woodson.
none of those guys. They're all corners, and you cannot stop the run with secondary guys.
The yards per carry is the highest ever been in the history of the NFL running the ball. However, most of the best teams in the NFL are winning because of their quarterbacks, not because of their running game.
Well, it's so interesting that you said that because there was a fascinating conversation on NFL Network Radio over the break. I can't remember when I heard it.
Yeah.
But it was fascinating. They talked about that. Why are teams running the ball? Why are teams running the ball? That we know that the league is cyclical on what it does. Mm-hmm. We know that when one thing works, everybody tries to emulate it. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about this on this program, which is perhaps why the Browns are where they are. The basic takeaway from the conversation was the league went so in on stopping the pass, which the Browns clearly have done. Yeah. That's what they keep drafting backs. Yeah. The back end of the defense is where they pay attention to in the draft. Now, they want to get pressure on the quarterback. They feel they have that taken care of with the two bookends. But they talked specifically about how the trend league-wide, and it's been that way for a few years,
people in the middle,
has been to shut down the pass because everybody went pass nuts. And we talked at the beginning of the season. I brought up a couple times, the quarterback play doesn't seem as great as it always has been. Mm-mm. Brady and Rodgers struggling. Now, granted, they're older. Mahomes is still doing his thing. But in general, the takeaway from the conversation was this. The yards per carry are at an all-time high because the league is built to stop the other side.
Right, but still.
And teams are now finding, heck, we can run the ball.
But, Jay, still, most of the Super Bowl contenders are because of their quarterback, not because of their running game.
That may or may not be true.
No, it is true.
Philadelphia ran for 353
okay, that's
yards
one team.
yesterday. Well, that's the best
But
team.
their quarterback had half of them.
The quarterback had 100 yards rushing in the first quarter.
Bonkers.
Right, but it's about their quarterback, not their running game.
It is, but their entire running game yesterday is why they beat the Packers. You just said something that I was thinking when I was watching the game last night. Why I think
and
the
by the way,
Browns have
Kansas
had
City's
the
the best team in football, not Philly.
I don't know that yet. I still don't. I think Kansas City is ultimately.
Kansas City, Miami,
I think
Baltimore,
Philly is the most
Buffalo,
balanced.
Cincinnati, Philadelphia, Minnesota. They're all winning. They're all winning because of their quarterbacks, not because of their running game.
Well, I tell you,
now
if
Baltimore
you watched last
and
night,
Philly are because of their running quarterbacks.
Yeah, that has something to do with it.
Not because of their running backs.
If you watched last night, it wasn't just Jalen Hurts. It was a lot of it was Jalen, but they just ran the ball with success no matter who was running the ball.
I know, but the Packers stink. So.
And to your point, G. Bush, as I'm watching the Packers, I know everybody wants to put Aaron Rodgers in the dirt. He lost his great receiver. But to me, what's really astounding to me is their defense can't. Their defense looks like ours in disguise. They can't tackle. They're getting gashed on running plays, 20, 30-yard run plays were the norm last night.
They made the Eagles backs look like they superstars.
And again, the reason that and I think it's true, but the takeaway from the NFL Network radio conversation that I agreed with 100% was this league has overcompensated to stop the pass. And it's a quick-to-react league, too. I go back to the Atlanta game. Atlanta didn't go into that game thinking they were going to beat the Browns on the ground.
No.
But they made a brilliant in-game adjustment when they realized they can't tackle us. Mm-hmm. So let's just keep doing that. So offenses are built to sling the football all over the field. Defenses are built to stop the pass. So what's happened? The league has figured that out, and now they're running the ball like never before.
If you have a quality running game, you give yourself a chance.
Right.
I just watched the
By the way, we have that.
I watched the Cowboys. Like they always talk about Ezekiel Elliott is done. Ezekiel Elliott ain't nowhere near done, right? If they use him the way they use him, right? The way they use him.
Well, he's not the best back on their team.
No, but it's
though.
not about being the back. You have to have the ability to run the ball and people who are hard-nosed enough to do it when his time is cut. Like Chubb, like Chubb yesterday, like they had him in check, but they stayed with him. And then he busted a few.
Because nowadays, everybody, you talk to types, everybody want to go nickel. Everybody's base package is nickel. Now, here's what you got to understand. You taking a linebacker, a force player, off the field, and you put the corner there.
Yeah, put the corner in.
Just why teams are running.
Your middle linebacker, who used to be the thumper, the guy that get downhill.
Knock people out.
Now you put the Will in there. Now he's covering people. And the safety that used to be a strong safety is on the sideline. And you got another corner. You got basically two free safeties that are finesse players.
Right.
When you're running the ball against that, you only have a couple of guys that are used to hitting guys in the backfield every time.
You know what I see here, and this to prove your point. You see when the safety come up now? The safety is going for I'm going for the leg tackle.
Sure.
It used to be the guys, Ronnie Lott, used to lay you out.
They did.
That strong
Those
safety
are
would
flags
lay.
now.
They would lay you
they are
out. I ain't talking about hitting you in your head. I'm just talking about they want to wrap you up.
Yeah, but the kind of hits that they used to deliver, even Polamalu, they used to hit guys so hard they'd go through them. And that kind of player, you're right, G. Bush. We don't see that kind of player in the league because if you can't, you have to be able to cover on all 3 downs now. And it's like there's no more rundown.
I just wonder in the playoffs, are any of these run-first teams going to win?
We'll find out.
They didn't last year.
We'll find out.
I don't think they're going to win this year. Baltimore and Philly got to prove they can win in the playoffs. We know Titans are a fraud. They're not going to win in the playoffs.
Mikey, what do you got?
Giants are not going to do anything. Go ahead, Mike.
The time has arrived, Ohio sports fans. Sports betting goes live on January 1st. Download the BetJack app today so you'll be ready for all the action as soon as it gets going. BetJack, Ohio Sportsbook. And we have Tim Couch.
Nice.
What's up, Tim?
Nice.
Tim, your thoughts on the win, man?
Nice.
Man, it's nice to have a victory Monday for a change, isn't it?
This is just our second one all year.
We haven't had many.
The other wins were on Thursdays and Mondays. And so you got to go all the way back to the first game of the season when they beat Carolina, when we thought Victory Monday would be a routine. It's been a long stretch between drinks of water.
It sure has. That was an exciting game. I think, the Browns once again came out on the first drive of the game, and their first 15, their script or whatever they do, looked awesome. And then the offense went away until the end of the game, and they scored when they had it. But, I thought the defense played really well. Obviously, the catch by Njoku to put the game into overtime was unbelievable. So it was a fun game to watch. I thought the Browns played a really quality football game, and it was great to get a big win at home.
What's funny is Jacoby Brissett a lot of times this year has played well, and in those big moments he has made some key mistakes. This game was the opposite. He didn't really have a great game for 3 quarters, but when it mattered the most, late in the 4th quarter and in overtime, he made some big-time throws.
He really did. You're exactly right. All we've talked about all year is Jacoby was good, early in games. He was managing football games, but when it came down to those 2-minute drive situations where you really had to have it, he was throwing interceptions in those situations. And yesterday, he really was good in that moment. And, I think that comes with experience, being exposed to that more. And, he's had that situation several times this year, so I'm sure he feels more comfortable with it now. But he made the plays that he had to make. They relied on Nick Chubb quite a bit, which was great. I think Chubb had over 25 carries, which was ideal. And you just keep giving that dude the ball, and eventually he's going to start breaking runs for you. So it was a great game. I thought the offensive line run blocked really well. Jacoby got sacked a bunch of times, but they were moving guys up front. Chubb was doing his thing, and the receivers made the plays when they needed to.
Hey Tim, what do you think about Kevin State's game plan yesterday? He did not do anything crazy. He played the percentages the way they're supposed to be played down the stretch, and he said he put the ball in the hands of the defense. Said, "You're going to win me this thing here." And Miles and Clowney responded to that.
Yeah, they did, and that's the way what we thought it was going to look like all season long. When the defense, we thought the defense was going to be great. We knew the running game was going to be great, but the defense has let us down consistently all year long. Except for these last few weeks, they're finally starting to play a lot better football, and they're closing out games. When you got a Clowney, you got a Myles Garrett. Those are the situations where you're going to close out games. And Brady, you know exactly where Brady's going to be in the pocket. He's not one of these mobile quarterbacks that's going to be moving around. So those guys can really just pin their ears back and go get him. And man, they made the plays when they had to. It was great to see.
Tim, Jacoby said after the game he actually didn't like the play call when they were going over the game plan on Saturday, the David Njoku play in the end zone. And Kevin said you believe in the player more than the play. So I'm just wondering, have you had that in your career where you don't necessarily love a particular play call, but you believe in the player, so you're going to go to him anyway at big points in the game?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, in those crunch time situations, you really call plays for players, not necessarily just plays. You're trying to get the ball into a certain playmaker's hands, certain matchups. And obviously Njoku in the red zone with his length and his athleticism, that's where you really want to go with the ball. You're going to get a linebacker on and maybe a safety. So it's a great matchup for the Browns. And even though Jacoby may not have liked the play, it was where the ball needed to go in that situation. And, man, he put it up there where only David could get it. And what an unbelievable catch and in a clutch situation that was. Went up with his left hand. For a tight end, man, you just you don't see many guys that can make that type of play.
Hey Tim, I'm gonna jump on the back end of Jason's comment. You've been in football a long time, college, pro. Talk to folk about this. In practice who the special people are, the people who can make plays, right? And sometimes you can just throw a crap thing to somebody, and I'll throw a crap alley-oop to somebody. Sean Kemp will go up and catch it. I threw one crazy in Orlando. I think this thing was offline. He went and caught it and threw it down. I was like, oh, my goodness. And who these people are. So when you get down to tight situations in the game, I'm a believer in you just put the ball in an area and give them a chance to make a play. And then you see what happens. You're going to have a better shot at it when you have playmakers on your team.
I totally agree with that. You get to know these guys in practice during the offseason, the type of plays they can make. And, you see them every day. Maybe you throw a bad ball and you think it's going to be incomplete and the guy makes an unbelievable catch. You start to trust that guy that you can just kind of get it anywhere in his vicinity and he's going to make a play for you. Njoku is such a big body guy and so long that, his catch radius is huge. And he's got such great leaping ability. So you really trust him to put that ball up high, and he's just going to be like a basketball player and go up and get a rebound for you. And, he's great in that area of the field, and I think he's had an unbelievable year. I think, going back to the offseason when he signed that big contract, we're all kind of scratching our head a little bit like, right, well, why are they giving this guy so much money? They're paying him like a top tight end. But I think he's played like it this year.
I
really do. I think
he played great.
He earned it with
did.
that,
I think he's
catch.
played great football, and he's really surprised me with the progress he's made from a year ago. He was really inconsistent with his hands early in his career, and this year he hasn't dropped many balls. I know he dropped one yesterday, but he's been really consistent this year and making a ton of plays.
Tim, give Jacoby a grade. His 11-game stint appears to be done, barring some sort of injury or whatever down the road. But how did he play for you? A, B, C, D, F? What do you give him?
Jay, I think from what my expectations were, I think I'd have to give him an A. I really didn't have any expectations of him. I didn't think that he would do a whole lot at all, but he's really surprised me. I think, if you look at all the games, except for maybe a couple, he's really given the Browns an opportunity to win each and every week. And that's all you can ask for from your quarterback. He's been let down by his defense a few times. Play calling has hurt him at times. The offensive line, the protection has hurt him at times, but he's played winning football. I think he's, for the most part, taken really good care of the ball. He's gotten the team in and out of the right plays. He's going to the right spot with the football. He's been accurate with it. He makes strong throws down the field, managing the game, and I think that he's a good leader. You can see the guys respond to him. So I would have to give him an A considering what my expectations were coming in. So I think he's played a tremendous season. He's really helped himself, and he's definitely going to prolong his career for the performance that he's put on this year.
Tim, Deshaun Watson will take the field next Sunday in Houston for the first time in almost 2 calendar years. We know how talented he is, but as I said, he hasn't played in 2 years. Right. Wherever he goes, including in Houston, the boos and the comments are going to be crazy. Like, he's going to get harassed like no other player has, maybe since at least Michael Vick, probably. What are your expectations for him? And if you were in this situation where you were getting just roasted by the fans every week, what would your advice be to him in terms of how to handle that?
That is a tough one. You're exactly right. Probably Michael Vick is the only one we could compare what it's going to be like for Deshaun. We saw him in the preseason, and the fans were giving it to him pretty hard, and it's just going to be like that for a long time for Deshaun. So he's going to have to find some way to block that out, man, and just focus on football, which that's way easier said than done. You can say I'm not going to pay attention to it and not going to focus on it, but you hear it. As a player, you certainly hear all those comments, and you just got to find a way to have some thick skin, man. That's the only way you're going to get through it, and just try to go out each week, each game, be a better, show that you're a better person, you're improving off the field, and just show people that you're a changed man. And I think that's it's just going to take time for him to do that. But it's going to be a rough few weeks for him to get through all the verbal abuse he's going to take, especially on the road. But I think as far as on the field, with him coming back next week against Houston, a team that's only won one football game this year, I think that's a great way for him to kind of come back and get his feet wet before he starts playing some really good teams. You got Cincinnati, Baltimore, Washington coming up in there. So he's got some good teams coming up down the road, but this is a good game for him to come back and get his feet wet a little bit and get used to playing out the speed of the game and getting back out on the field.
Well, Tim, talk a little bit about that speed of the game. Like, for a quarterback, it's a little bit different. I don't think we've talked about it as much at that position because quarterbacks usually don't have that long of a layoff. Like, quarterbacks are always usually playing, especially if you are a franchise quarterback. Have you ever had in your career where you've sat out or maybe been injured and had to come back and play in the speed of the game? How long do you think it takes to get adjusted to seeing throws, guys closing on the football, timing with receivers? I mean, for all intents and purposes, he's only played on the scout team, and that's not game speed. How long do you think it will take?
I think that's a really good question, and I don't really know the answer because, the games that I missed were only, for a few weeks here and there. I haven't really, had an injury or something happen where I was, missing, years of football. It's very difficult, no matter how talented you are, to just take 2 years off from, the best, competition in the world and just walk back out there on the field and say, I'm back. And you expect to play at the level that you were a couple years ago. And, I know Deshaun has worked hard. He's put in a lot of work with a quarterback coach, I'm sure, but there's just no way to simulate playing in a football game. You can go out, even OTAs and practices, they don't simulate that for you. They do to a certain extent, but the speed of the game, the intensity certainly picks up on Sunday afternoons when you're going out there and trying to win a football game. So it's going to take some time, in my opinion. I think we'll see flashes of the old Deshaun Watson, like, oh, there it is. That's what we're hoping to see, consistently in the future. But I think he's going to be a little up and down. I really do. For the remainder of the season, I think we're going to see a little rust. Trying to shake that off, but. Hopefully, his athleticism will kick in and he can make some plays, and he's going to make some plays in the passing game. So, I just expect a little bit of inconsistency, but maybe not quite the Deshaun Watson we're used to. But hopefully, he can build up to that and get that going up into next year.
Hey Tim, let me ask you a question here, because you just made a comment. We got the remainder of the season left. What is your if you're on the sideline and you're Stefanski, what is your formula to winning a majority of those games, to giving yourself the best opportunity to win those games? What are your strategies?
I think what they've been doing here the last few weeks, they're giving themselves opportunities. It's just guys need to make the plays at the end of these games to go out and win them. It's rely on the run game. You got one of the best, if not the best, running back in the National Football League in Nick Chubb. You got an unbelievable offensive line to block for him. So you're going to take a lot of pressure off the quarterback just automatically having those guys. And, you're going to ask Deshaun to go out and, make the plays that, that's why they brought him here, is to make these plays off of play action, throwing the football down the field, moving the pocket, get him outside, let him use his athleticism and make those throws down the field. So I think that's the game plan. And obviously, if the defense continues to play the way they have the last few, then, you got an opportunity. You got a top 5 quarterback in the league out there. You got maybe the best running back in the league out there. You got Amari Cooper, who's playing, maybe, top 5 or so in the league at the wide receiver position this year. And you got great players on defense. So the roster is super talented. You just got to have the guys make the plays and put them in positions week in and week out to do what they can do.
Okay, so all that being said, you've got 3 practices now, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. How much different do you think this offense will look going into Houston? Deshaun took a ton of reps in the preseason for this in order to get him ready for this moment. I was told he got about 20% of the reps here in practice last couple of weeks, a little bit more than a typical backup for this moment. So now, I don't think you can really tear apart the playbook in 1 week, but the way I put it was I think we can finally move away from calling offensive linemen as eligible receivers. We can get away from the 3 tight end look. How much different do you think this thing could look in 1 week?
Not a whole lot. I'm with you on that. I don't think there's too much you can change in this first week. I think maybe you can add a few more wrinkles, especially down inside the red zone, to use Deshaun's athletic ability. You can probably put in some more play action stuff, to take advantage of his big arm, getting the football down the field. The last time this guy was out on the field for a full season, I think he threw for 5,000 yards or so, maybe a little more. So he's going to push it down the field, and that's what he wants to do. That's his style of play. So you definitely want to to let him do what he does best, but you're not going to just overhaul the whole playbook just because you got Deshaun coming in. And it's pretty much going to be, I think, what we've seen all season long, except for a few little wrinkles, especially in maybe short yardage situations, red zone situations where you can really use Deshaun and give him that option, run pass option kind of thing. So I think it won't be too much, but just a little difference in certain situations within the game.
Tim, one thing that will be very different, though, is the way teams defend the Browns, right? Like we've seen a lot of 8, even 9 guys in the box against Jacoby because he doesn't, he's not as good a thrower of the ball as Deshaun Watson, even though he's done a nice job. But teams have defended the Browns and said, we're going to put everybody up here to try to stop the run. Jacoby, you beat us. They're not going to they won't do that as much with Watson, I would think, right?
You would think not, but they still have to find a way to stop Nick Chubb. Sure. You got to go into these games saying we got to stop the run, and that's why I was saying it's such an ideal situation for a quarterback to be in, and that's why we've seen Jacoby have so much success because when they're loading up the box for a quarterback, it really simplifies your reads and progressions, and it's not as difficult it is when they're playing these zones and dropping 7-8 guys in coverage. You get one-on-ones on the outside, you're pretty much just picking matchups out there and getting rid of the football. So for Deshaun, it really really is, like I said, ideal. He's got a big time tight end. He's got a great running game. He's got receivers that are making plays. Donovan Peoples-Jones has really come along this year, starting to make a lot of plays. So, when he gets these opportunities, he's got to be out there just, with his eyes this big. If the safeties are down in the box and he walks up to the line of scrimmage, he's thinking, home run. He's thinking big plays. He's going to be more aggressive than Jacoby Brissett is. Deshaun is a guy who wants to push it down the field, and I think that's going to kind of be the difference that we see within this offense is Deshaun really trying to get those big chunk plays, those home run plays more than Jacoby was trying to do.
Speaking of pushing it down the field, Tim, unfortunately we had a problem. We can't show the video, but I know you recently sat down for an interview with our guy, Sir Yacht, who was on our show. He brought a giant teddy bear when he came in our show. And there's a video, folks can check it out on Twitter, on Instagram probably too. And Tim's out there on what was Kentucky's field, of course. And Tim is looking sharp, and he perfectly hooks up with Sir Yacht for a deep pass down the field. How was the arm feeling that day, Tim?
It felt pretty good. I don't think I have many throws left in the arm, so he wasn't as fast as receivers I'm used to, thankfully, so I didn't have to put much on it. But he is a big guy, though. He's taller than I am. That guy's probably 6'5", 6'6", so he was an easy guy, easy target to hit. But we had a lot of fun doing the interview. He's very creative, he's very knowledgeable about the Browns' history and, especially, the quarterback situation that's happened over the last 20 years and stuff. So it was a lot of fun to sit down with him, and we had a blast that day.
He's going to be interviewing, I think, every Browns quarterback
from 99.
Yeah.
Fun. Some of them have to be in the witness protection program. Some of them are going to be hard to locate.
Yeah.
Hey,
Tim, good luck finding Johnny Manziel, right? Get that guy to sit down.
Is he still alive?
Tim, real quick, Sir Yacht actually was a D3 center back in the day at Ohio Wesleyan. Dude could actually hoop a little bit too. So he's a halfway decent athlete.
Hey, Tim, you coaching any football these days?
No, not coaching. Just going to my kids' games, man.
Well, I'm asking. There might be an opening in Columbus coming up real soon here. Real soon.
They want to find
that was a rough game Saturday, man.
Yeah, it was. Hey, did you guys end up beating Louisville?
Yep, they got
you
the
guys
cup.
beat Louisville, didn't you?
Yeah.
Didn't it?
We did. Yeah, we ended up beating Louisville. Yeah,
it
was a good win for it.
That puts a cherry on the season for sure, and you're bowl bound. So nice season for the Wildcats this year.
Yeah, it's a little up and down. We were ranked number 7 in the country several weeks ago, and we lost on the road to Ole Miss, and we had, a bunch of injuries. Quarterback got hurt. Our starting running back missed the first 4 games, so we just kind of had an up and down season. Lost a few we shouldn't have lost, but it is nice, like you said, to finish it off with a win over your rival.
Tim, we always appreciate you coming on, man, especially after a victory. I can't wait to talk to you next Monday about how different this team looks with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. Big expectations. And we'll see what happens. Tim, enjoy your week.
Tim.
See you, Tim.
Thank you, guys.
But Jason asked a very interesting question to Tim, and when you asked about how much can the offensive change in season, and Tim was like, they can't change it that much.
You kind of are who you are
during the season.
We got 3 practices.
But I do
Wednesday,
think
Thursday, Friday.
I do think the defense is going to play the Browns differently. We all know how good Nick Chubb is.
Go back and look at the Buffalo game, the way that they sold out to stop the run. We saw it Sunday with Tampa.
As much as you want to stop Chubb, you can't sell out as much if you're a defense with Deshaun Watson as you would with Brissett.
I want to ask you guys about something Tim said. Tim said he thinks it's the perfect scenario for Deshaun Watson because he's playing a team in the Houston Texans that's got one victory on the season.
Yeah.
On one hand, yes, you want them to go against a team that talent-wise you feel you should be able to handle. But we can't not talk about the other part of
That's going to be a tough atmosphere.
So Deshaun, wherever he goes, is going to get the Michael Vick treatment.
Yes.
But it'll be nothing like what he gets in Houston because, remember, he tapped out there. He told the team, I don't want to be here with you guys. Right. So the players have that fuel.
Yeah.
And the fans also. Imagine if we had Deshaun Watson here, and next season he tells us, I can't win here, I'm leaving.
So,
how angry we would be.
So let me tell you, I've been in one of those type games, right? So when I was at Ohio State, my senior year, we were playing Minnesota. So we were going to play Minnesota at Minnesota. And 5 or 6 of their players got into some type of sexual assault, something that went on in Minneapolis, maybe 5 days before we were supposed to play this game, 5 or 6 days. So they then immediately removed them from the team.
Wow. And
they only had 5 scholarship players left, 5, in front of 18,000, 19,000 Minnesota play. 5 scholarship players. We felt like we were going to come here and run the table. They brought on 3 walk-ons.
Wow.
To add to the 5. I think 3 of them were football players that just came into play.
Because they knew that football players had a lot of success against you guys.
Right. So we
from the Chris Carter game.
We came in here, and so I'm thinking we're going up in Minneapolis, and we're going to run the table here because they just don't have enough manpower.
Sure.
The venue, it had to be the wildest venue that I've ever been in. There were 19,000 people strong in Minneapolis, and they were all representing the burgundy and gold of Minneapolis. It wasn't about.
So it was tougher than you thought.
It was much tougher.
Did they beat you?
Oh, did they beat us?
Yeah. They did.
Not only beat us bad. Right.
Okay, so I thought
after that day, it went back in the tank.
Yeah.
But on that day,
right,
they responded that day.
It's a little different of a situation because it was their own players versus the opposing team.
No, but see, Deshaun Watson here is the enemy of the state versus the city of Houston.
But
this
the
is
Texans fans even
they
care
were
at this
just
point.
cheering on their guys.
Right.
But
they're supporting their guy.
You were in a game where you were the enemy of the state.
So,
when you went back to Wisconsin,
I was in that too.
You were basically doing what is going to happen on Sunday with Deshaun Watson. What was that experience like?
So when
because you left Wisconsin and they were not happy.
Oh, no, they were not happy. So when I walked back into the venue, it was, in that case, it was me versus the state versus me, right? Basically is what it came down to. And to Tim's point, you've got to be able to cocoon that thing off.
Could you?
Yeah, so I was pretty good. I was pretty good when I came out the gate, good. But what happened was the energy in the place fueled the other side.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And no matter what I brought to the table that day, for those 40 minutes, those few players, the players on the other side that I know were lesser than the players I had it with me in Columbus, they were like, we're not having it that day. We're not. Yeah. You're not going to get this win today. And every turn I made, right, to make a stand, because we were running them out the gym. And then next thing I knew, out of the wood, and then the groundswell from the audience, from the crowd, it became so loud.
And they beat you that day?
Oh, yeah, Jay. And then, Jay, I told you the story before. Before the game, I'm in the locker room. The locker room was under the arena, right? This is 45 minutes before the game. They're chanting my entire name in the entire building. I could hear it under the floor. Wow. This is under cement and everything, right? They were ready. They're like, we've been waiting for you. We've been waiting 2 years for you.
It's kind of like Russ Wilson in Seattle.
Yeah,
I wonder,
this is what he's going to see on Sunday.
Have the Texans fans already checked out?
No, not for this one.
I think this is their Super Bowl.
Yes, but they're coming back.
This is their Super Bowl.
They'll be there for this one.
Checked out, but I think for this one game, they're gonna look at it like it's the NFC Championship.
This is their day.
But you may be right, guys. I don't buy that the Texans players hate Deshaun Watson. I don't buy that.
It's not. I don't think it's that, boy. I think it's the energy, the atmosphere.
Yeah, that I can buy.
Hold on.
Sure.
I want to drill down on that.
Yeah.
Brad, did the Wisconsin players hate you and have
No, those are my friends.
Yeah,
I know, but was there any part of them that said, I'm not losing to this guy, he left us?
No. So here, the first time we played them in Columbus, we smoked them in Columbus. That was my first time against them, right? And so after the game, we all met up in center court, just like old times, right? But it was different when I went back into their venue. The atmosphere had them all charged up. And they weren't against me. They were defending the state and their name. Like, no, you're not going to do us like you did down in Columbus. It's not happening here today.
So they
Deshaun Watson got an uphill
that as fuel.
So what he needs is the people that surround him to meet the challenge with him and say, listen, you're not taking my guy down today.
They have to jump on that bandwagon, and they got to have the mentality of, look, everybody like clowning the Browns. You're lovable losers. They talk about the river. They talk about all the losses, and yet and still you go out and get Deshaun Watson, but now 8 other teams didn't want him either. Everybody wanted to get Deshaun Watson. The problem is now they want to tell you, oh, you should be ashamed of getting Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
The whole media, the league, the whole country.
Cares? They would have said that about whatever team got him.
But here's the point. Here's the point.
Yeah.
You stack that upon everything that they said about the Browns.
Yeah.
How your colors are terrible. All that other stuff. The Browns need to come out and say, you know what, screw y'all.
Yeah.
We don't care. We got Deshaun Watson, and we plan on beating the brakes. We plan on beating brakes off all of y'all.
No excuses.
You laughed at us for 21-23 to Jersey with the quarterback. We don't care. I'm going to wear my jersey. I'm going to wear my coat. I got it on the day. You're not going to talk me off of it. I'm going to get my money off. And when we put 28 to 35 points on y'all can chant and do whatever you want to. But you know what I noticed? When you be winning, them chants dissipate.
They're gone.
Them chants,
They're gone.
hey, because I seen it with Ben Roethlisberger. They brought him out like Caesar when he retired. How hell Caesar?
You know what the difference was? A lot of time it passed. And you know what Ben did? He went home and he shut his mouth.
He did.
And he hid.
Yeah,
and
he
never
did.
heard from him
He
again.
got married and he hid.
That's exactly what he did.
Yeah, that's what Watson got to stay out of trouble. He's got to don't do anything bad, and eventually people will calm down with the booing. He's going to have to put up with it. He deserves it, and he's got to suck it up.
You know, the
Who
Browns
cares?
did something yesterday that I loved. We talked about this earlier in the year when they were at Carolina. I said if they win the coin toss, I hope they take the football because I think it's important that they just dismiss that crowd right away. So again, this is something where analytics, the trend in the league is you always defer. But when you're the Browns, they did something very smart. They said, no, we're going to take the ball because their offense has started the game so hot.
They're gods.
And
they're
what did they do?
First series.
And so if they win the toss at Houston, I hope they do the same thing. Take the ball.
I bet they will.
Run it down the field and score and shut that crowd up.
I'm going to tell you the other thing that you see these T-shirts out here where the sports teams have this shirt says "Us Against the World." This is what this is. Because at 9 o'clock today, whatever time camp opens up at Berea, every player over there is going to be asked about this thing.
Every single one.
Right. Every day, every hour, every spirit. What about going to Houston? What about Deshaun? What about this? So you thought they got tired of it before.
Yeah, the distraction is back.
The mentality, though, has to be that we're all banding together here.
Yes.
Right? And no matter what, you can't be out on the fringe here like, I'm not with you today, but
Jay, what
I'm
did
gonna
you
act
pick
like I'm
up
with
in the
you.
locker room yesterday? Because I'm sure everybody was asked yesterday about Deshaun coming back.
Actually, they weren't because
of the win.
Because of the win and the way that the game transpired. Wednesday is going to be a very uncomfortable day.
Wednesday will be nuts for them.
Wednesday's when quarterbacks talk.
Yep.
I assume the expectation is Deshaun's going to talk on Wednesday. He's not going to get football questions on Wednesday.
No, he won't.
It's going to be relitigating all of this.
You said
Eventually,
you assume he's going to talk. I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns just didn't bring him out.
Well, people are being called today.
They're
being
supposed to.
You know how you have those personal contacts with players? People are being called today. The Twitter thing is going on today. This is going on right now.
People from Baltimore, people from Vegas, I said, what you call little OG Bush for? I just do the barbershop. Hey, can I get a quote from you? I'm like, what? People right now is warmed up.
I would just say this. If you're one of the 50-plus members of the Browns, you better be ready to circle the wagons here. Because if you have any chance, any desire to make a playoff push, you got to be all in on this thing, all the way in, right? And that means you're defending everybody to the hilt for just the team, not just defending him, defending the team.
Hey, a 35-7 win Sunday, you think that team believes now if they go down there and take care of business, not just with a win, but an emphatic win, and the offense looks completely different, even though it's against the Texans. And I know it's 5-7, but then you're going to start to the snowball is going to be picking up steam as it goes down the hill.
The public relations side of it, I hope Deshaun Watson and his team has come up with a concise statement, a plan of action, so that when they ask you those questions on Wednesday, you answer them one time and one time only. And then you move forward and say, I'm talking about football.
If I'm him, I'm saying we've talked about this already. I am no longer going to discuss it. And
I think he has to give a statement.
I wouldn't.
I would answer one question about it and say, I would even set the ground rules before.
Yes.
I know you guys have a lot of questions. I'm here to play a football game. I will either make an opening statement about the situation or I will answer one question. And then I'm turning the page to football. Because
Jay,
that's
if I
what
were
I'm trying
him,
to
my
do.
opening statement would be, I'm no longer talking about it. He's talked about it.
I know.
What can he say?
You think the reporters are going to say, okay, what do you think the chances are of winning Sunday?
I like that better.
They're going to kill him.
Give your concise statement.
Every time he's made a statement, it's cringeworthy.
I don't want him answering questions.
Yeah.
I don't like the way they've handled this from his.
I haven't either.
I think they've made a lot of missteps.
I agree. I agree.
And it's not going to go away.
No,
He's going to get these questions.
It's not going away.
But I do think we are going to get to the point where it does.
Yeah, it's going to get old.
Football.
It's going to get old.
And it's probably after this week. He's going to have to deal with this Wednesday. He may have to deal with it Sunday post game. And then I do think, and I also don't want to minimize how people feel about this, because there's a lot of people who don't want him here. And if that's the way you feel, you have that right, and I don't fault you. But there are a lot of other people who just want to talk football and want to get this on football.
True. You got two things going on. You got his personal case. Then you have the team sucked in and the players sucked in here. The one thing that I will say that in the entire process, it appeared that he was always on an island by himself. There was nobody with any. I mean, I said it before. There was nobody with any guides. To Bull's point, and to Jay's point, really, he cannot duck this. He'll have to say something from the beginning to get him past that point here. Because if you think that you are walking and say, I'm just talking about football, they're just going to turn up the heat. It's going to keep coming. It's going to keep coming.
He hasn't talked. He did the one thing with Aditi before the preseason game, and that looked very scripted and whatever. But he hasn't talked. I mean, there's been a new lawsuit that's come out since then.
Yeah. Yep.
So there are things that he is going to have to talk about and address, because he has talked about this. But he's really going to talk about it, I think. In the last press conference in March, I think once during
training. You know what the thing is, though?
Before he left, he did not look that. Remember, he had a couple misstatements before he left.
Yes.
And that led to Brad saying, where's your team at? You shouldn't be saying that.
But, guys, we're in a situation. This is Deshaun talking is basically like politics. It's like when every once in a while I put a tweet up where I complain about something politically, and it's pointless because everybody's picked their camps already, and I'm not changing anybody's mind. And it's the same thing. Everybody's picked their camp on the Deshaun Watson thing, and with Deshaun, there's three camps. There's he's disgusting, I don't want him here. Yeah. There's he's disgusting, but he's great at football, so I'm okay with it. And then there's I don't care at all.
Right.
But and nobody's changing camps. None. Yeah. Nobody's changing camps.
I don't think anybody's changing camps, but what it is if I can equate it to a fire, it's you have a fire when it's at blaze, full at blaze, and you got it when it's just burning embers underneath, right? And then somebody walks in with some gasoline or some wood, throws it on there, boom.
Yeah. But that's when he's done when he's talked, so that's why.
Well, that's why I would.
We're gonna know on Wednesday what happens here.
Yes. I would say, and even if he's reading off of it, I know that we'd kill him for that and say it's not genuine. You're reading it. But you want him to stay within the bounds. What you don't want him to do is to stand up there and start freelancing, because he's proven he can't do that.
I don't worry about the local media here.
There'll be national media
It'll be the national people here on Wednesday that are looking forward to invoke this.
You know what? Honestly, I'm in the media. It doesn't matter what he says. People are coming here Wednesday. And they know what they're going to write, and they're going to write it regardless of what he says.
Absolutely right. And they know the piece they're going to write.
It's already
done. It's just a matter of what words he gives them to make their case.
And I hate saying that.
I do too.
I try to never approach a story that way.
Is that what y'all do?
You know what, Brad? There is a fraction of the.
I'm being facetious.
No,
is that what y'all do?
No, I'll tell you. But I don't know if I've ever done that. I truly don't.
I don't think you have.
You're a gentleman and a scholar. You're a gentleman and a scholar. There are others that don't do this. Subscribe to that.
Young kids will ask me all the time that are studying it, what is journalism? And everybody has a different, I believe at the end of the day that here's the quickest, easiest definition of journalism. Journalism is telling stories as they are, not as we wish them to be.
That's exactly it. It's pursuing the truth.
That's it.
It's supposed to be.
But you got
the pursuit of the truth.
You got that. You got some people working for editors that are saying holding the amber over people's heads, saying, "I'm gonna need a story like this." You want to make
too many outlets have slants.
You want to make your bread, so you got to dance with the devil, right? And you can give somebody the straight facts. These are the facts. It's innocent as all get out, and they don't want the facts.
Jay, I'm actually glad you said that, because I've always hated that aspect of our business too. I really do. It's ugly. And that's why the public has such a low perception of us in general.
Yeah.
And I've been a consumer of your words for a long time. And before I met you, I didn't know you, but the one thing I always admired about you was and again, sometimes we feel like we know the person that we've read for a long time.
Yeah.
I felt like before I met you, I kind of knew who you were.
Right.
Practical sensibilities. But what I always found admirable about your work, and there are others in the business, and there are a lot of them. I'm not saying that you're the only one. There are a lot of guys that do this. I've read columns that you've written that I know go against what you believe. But you still use the facts of the story to make the case.
I mean,
I wish I could come up with an exact example now, but I think it was mostly with the Cavaliers.
Yeah.
I would read that and I'd say, wow, I give this guy credit. Because I think in his heart of hearts, he doesn't necessarily believe
He hates Dan Gilbert for crying out loud.
But
I don't hate Dan.
He's been so fair.
All right, stop pumping him up so much.
Listen, I think it needs to be pointed out, because coming into this week, you're 1,000% right. There will be journalists from the networks and big papers and publications that come here, and the assignment has already been delivered. Go do a hit piece on Watson.
Go kill him.
Get him.
And by the way,
that's how. And I hate that aspect of it.
And by the way, this is very important to say. I'm a big person. I say it all the time. Learn from other people's mistakes. I ask people to do that when it comes to coaching and in regular life, or if you're just a regular person. And Deshaun Watson can learn from two different cases and instances. Prominent men in the African American community, Kyrie Irving and Kanye West. You can learn based on, it isn't about what they've said. Most times in America, we get to a point where we love a redemption story. Our country is built on second chances, making amends for certain things, and we've shown that we will even vote for people who are flawed characters, flawed individuals. The messaging is the most important, though. If you look at what happened with Kyrie Irving, he could have eliminated a lot of that just by not going off script. And I know how it is. As athletes, we freestyle a lot. As athletes, we ad-lib. As athletes, you feel when the play break down, I'm at my best when the play break down. But when you're dealing with messaging, you're dealing with emotion, and you're dealing with people, you got to be concise. You got to watch what you say. You got to watch how you look when you say it. And on top of that, you got to stand by the game plan. Don't deviate. They got about 97 trigger questions rated.
Stick to the script.
Stick to the script. If you do it once right, you can move on.
Well, nobody was out to get Kyrie. He got himself out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They
are now, though.
They're gonna
deservedly so.
They're gonna ask you questions. They're gonna keep going at it. Kyrie didn't do what he was supposed to. If you would have issued it the way you were supposed to issue it and stuck to the script for the people you pay. You pay them to help you. It's public relations.
I think Kyrie's thing, and this is way off topic, but we can move on after this.
Kyrie's an idiot. He doesn't even know what he did wrong.
Kyrie believes that he should be able to express his viewpoints no matter how ugly or hateful they are.
Right.
And
which he can, but he thinks there should be no consequences for that.
And the thing is, people say, well, we don't live in a free country. We can't say what we say. No, if you work at McDonald's,
that's right. The difference
and the person comes up to the window and says, here's your order, please vote for Biden.
Right.
You could do that. You have the right to do that. But McDonald's as a corporation has the right to say, you're fired.
Right.
Yeah,
so Kyrie.
But the government can't arrest you for that.
I had someone who's very wealthy, who was a very, very successful athlete, once tell me, when you make a certain amount of money, you feel you can say and do whatever you want, but that's not true.
No. Yes,
I mean, they can cancel you and you can be forced into retirement and you can sit on your pile of money, but you will be judged for your words, and in Kyrie's case, he will be. And in Deshaun's case, what the media is, what they're going to do is they're going to throw a lot of banana peels on the floor.
Coming.
And they're just waiting to see which one he trips over.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. You gotta imagine that on Sunday. I can only imagine there are going to be numerous groups protesting Watson's return.
It'll be everywhere.
It'll be at stadiums.
It's going to be every freaking
It might be here in Cleveland.
And you know what?
Which I don't have a problem with.
I don't either. And again, there are people in Cleveland who are going to stop rooting for the Browns right now.
Yeah,
because
but
Deshaun is back.
I'm going back to this point where you're talking about, if you have a script and somebody's giving you the guidance saying, okay, because here, you don't want to go out here and slip on a banana peel, right? So, okay, so I'm a believer that you have to issue a statement and say this is what it is, and then I'm going back to what I was doing here. But if you go off script here, right, there are 1,000 landmines that are already set up here. They've been sitting up here for months.
And the media is salivating because he's already tripped up.
Right.
They know that he's very capable of tripping up.
If you've been around him, if you've been around him, and the stuff we've just seen from the side, because some of the statements he was making earlier on, we all were sitting here like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Please. Jay, we talked about this. I would say make him available for a statement and then have a limited Q&A where at some point either he or Peter or somebody says, okay.
It won't be him. It has to be.
It
looks awful if it's him.
I agree with that. So that's why I said Peter steps in and says, okay, guys, look, we're getting Deshaun ready to play a football game. Football-only questions now. The next question that's not football-related, we're shutting it down. You could do it that way.
That works?
I'm not sure you can do that this week.
I
think you have to you have to open the vein and let it run its course.
But why?
Because
what's the fallout?
Because the sharks are hungry.
But let me ask you this: what is the fall ultimately? There's like we say, it looks bad, it doesn't.
But the reality is, if Deshaun Watson went up there and said, I'm done, I've talked about it enough, I'm done talking about it, what's the real fallout besides think pieces ripping him again?
Well, I mean,
there's
he's not
really
gonna be
no
fined or
fallout.
anything. No, but for just the place of where the Browns are at, the fact he has talked about it, but he hasn't talked very often. It's been a long time since we've heard from him. There has been a new allegation since he came out. There's a new court. It's not an allegation. It's a court case come out against him. There are things he needs to address, and the Browns responsibly need to let him address this
He did
stuff.
actually address the new court
Yeah,
case.
he did.
His lawyer did.
His lawyer did, not him.
He has not.
I
It'll
just
be
think there's
interesting.
no real fallout for him saying, I'm not going to
Well, you know what? I think, Adam, the fallout would be, Jason, whenever the media is unified on something, and you're going to see it on every single media outlet, it becomes reality. It's one thing, like in politics, you've got
Fox,
the left,
CNN.
the left, got CNN and MSNBC over here, and you got Fox over here, and there's a huge gap between them. So it's never really, like, when Fox starts beating the drum against Trump, that's the worst thing that can happen to Donald Trump. And when CNN and MSNBC start beating the drum against Biden, that's the worst thing that can happen, because then the message from the media becomes unified.
Yeah.
The message on Deshaun Watson is pretty close to unified. There's not a lot of media outlets that are saying, yeah, he's a good dude, let's cut him some slack. They're sharks, they smell blood in the water. And the risk, I think, in saying nothing or making it very brief is that now you've galvanized the media.
What about
They're all going to be hard.
How does that affect him on the field?
Because the voice in the room now is coming from all corners. There's no defenders.
The media has an absolute impact on
They
teams
do.
and players.
But Jason,
1,000,000%.
most of the people that think he shouldn't play or whatever, they're not going to change no matter what he says. So what's the point? They're still going to
You're
write
not
those
trying to
same
convince
things.
anybody to come to your
Here's
side.
what you're trying to do. I'm big into debates and political debates. There are some candidates that I know that I would not vote for. But when they do go to debates, the ones that do show up and they're prepared, they answer the questions well, even that's not their track record, I come away as a person who's in the opposition saying, well, that person didn't do enough to get him off of his spot, because he came off as credible. He came off as, he may have a different opinion as you or different policies, but when you go to the public and you show your face and show that you are read, you are professional, and that you have thought about these things over time, what you do is come away and some journalists say, well, I think you might have been BSing that answer, but I really can't.
Well, a
nitpick
fascinating case study in that was the Pennsylvania Senate race.
Yep. Yeah.
Where even the left media looked at the performance from the Democratic contender, and they were like, this is troublesome.
Yeah.
This is really troublesome. I've never seen
Well, his opponent was a quack who ripped people off with illegal drugs.
There's I'm just sticking it to one side now.
Yeah.
I've never seen and the political landscape is changing daily, it seems. But we're at a place now where everybody universally looked at that. Even Chuck Schumer was quoted off mic as saying, we got a big problem now in PA. But what happened was, people were so entrenched in their beliefs that even when they saw the train wreck with their own eyes, they still went and voted their conscience, which was their political affiliation.
There was.
And so in the way that, I think the way that pertains, and this is the point Bull makes, we are so dug in on our beliefs. We are so dug in that he could go out there and fumble a news conference and his supporters would be okay with it. They would say, you know what, he's not a great talker. He doesn't get paid to talk. He's a football player. And his detractors are still going to be against him.
Nothing's going to change.
But I don't know that you want to move the meter with the public, because I don't think you will. I think that debate in PA proves that.
It's the independence.
But
it's
you
the
do,
middle.
and the independence in this argument is the media.
Yeah, that's it.
They're supposed to be the down the middle. And you want to win them over. And I'll guarantee you it will be a 35-0 defeat if he gives them nothing.
I hear you. I just think the reality is that
I would say this: your 50%. I mean, your percentage of whether you support him, then you have another percentage, equal percentage, I believe that.
You do?
That I believe there's an equal percentage that are against him, and then it's that group in the middle,
I
right?
think the supporters in Cleveland are bigger.
And I would say that the group that's left to decide, this is your media group, right?
Yes.
And I will just tell you, and you go back to his Clemson days and his Georgia days, he has people in the media that are supportive of him that have said, "I know him." Right?
Sure,
I'm not gonna railroad a piece on him, right? Then there's the other group in that same little group that's saying, I'm coming to kill him.
But the national media is far more impactful.
I can only do what I can do, and I will tell you guys, I don't know if I said it on the show or not, I met him for the first time a couple weeks ago when he first came back to the team, because in these scrums when there's no chance to actually talk to somebody.
Sure.
They wheel him in, he says what he says, and they whisk him out. And there's no time for interaction. So I actually met him for the first time a couple weeks ago, and I just introduced myself and said, I'm Jason Lloyd with The Athletic. You're going to be here a while. I'm going to be here a while. Let's start building some sort of relationship. I'm willing to give him a chance.
How did that go?
He was very receptive to it. And he said, I love the sound of that. Nice to meet you. Love to work with you in the future. And I know he came here in March. I've talked to some people around him. I've started building relationships with some of the people in his circle, in his corner. And that's the only way I can approach it is like, listen, I may not like everything I've heard about him, but I don't know the guy.
Going in with a blank slate.
I'm trying to.
That's what everybody should do. You do a great job with that.
You do.
And your ego's a little out of control, but
do that. I wish everybody else could do
that.
And
I think more people do that than give credit for.
I do too. That's why I said you're not alone. There are more that do that. But
and I ripped him after the first press conference. And I went in there with an open mind, and I sat there listening, going, "Oh my!"
Well, and that was fair for you to do because you were writing on what you saw, and what you saw was an abject disaster.
Yeah.
I'll say this: I checked with our college folks that covered him when he was at Clemson.
Okay.
And I also checked with some people that I know in Houston that have been long time names, guys that have been in Houston forever. They cover the Oilers. I didn't get probably 7 or 8 people that I reached out to got back to me. I reached out to more than that, but the ones that I reached out to, of the 7 or 8 that got back to me, it looked like the kind of reference you would hope to get from someone who you put down as a reference.
Right.
Every single person, none with dogs in the fight.
That's what I was
saying. People that covered him for a couple years at Clemson, people that got to know him personally, people that got to see him operate behind the scenes with his teammates, his family, his friends, and it was glowing. It was 100% of the precincts reported, this guy's a great guy. I'm not saying that he didn't do these things, but that is out of character for who he is. I've seen how he treats people.
But the reality is that those people are not massage therapists, and we don't know.
No.
People are different with different people.
And they all said
we don't know. Right.
They all said, I'm not defending the claims against him.
Yeah.
I can't speak to those. I know nothing of that.
But
and I told them specifically in my introductory email, I don't want to know I don't want your opinion on what he did. I want to know, in your experience with your eyes and how he's interacted with you and those around you, how is he as a human being?
And that's
why
I'm
telling you, it was glowing.
And that's why I said earlier, a lot of people don't want him here. A lot of people are disgusted by this.
Yeah.
I get it. You're allowed to feel that way.
Absolutely.
Feel that way.
Sure.
You want to throw your jersey off? Throw your jersey off. You don't want to go to games anymore? I don't blame you. But it is curious to me, we have not really heard his side. And you can say you can't defend the indefensible. Because I've had people tell me that. I've had people in my company tell me that. You can't defend the indefensible. But I still think at some point, his side should be heard. And I think it will be heard probably in a Netflix special 2 or 3 years.
I agree.
I'm serious.
Right. No, I know it is going to happen.
I don't think he trusts anyone to tell his story. And
I can understand why he wouldn't.
Right, and it may be like the Michael, it's his version, and maybe it's not exactly true, but this is his version.
Oh, you mean the Last Dance?
Yeah, the Last Dance.
I may have used this example on the show, but it's like making a murderer. Yeah. When you watch the Netflix series,
you go,
you're convinced this guy didn't do it.
That's exactly it.
But then you realize, go read the book that was written by the prosecutor, who was made to look like an absolute tool.
Buffoon, yeah.
And you read the book and you're like, so what it reminds you of is, I just experienced the court and an actual court case on a massive scale.
Right.
There's a reason that in court cases, you don't just hear from the prosecution and then the jury goes and votes.
Right.
You hear the jury side, or you hear the prosecution side, and you're like, oh my God, this guy flat out did it.
Yeah.
And then you hear the defense side, and you're like,
I don't know.
But wait, but what about this? And it's the same thing here. He wants to control, and it's smart for him to do that. And there will be people that won't watch it or will dismiss it because they're like, well, it's his product.
Right. Yeah. Right.
But he does need to get his message out, and the way you control the messaging 100% is through a documentary where you see a compilation of facts that make him look innocent. But understand that's just one half of the story.
That's exactly right.
Guys, here's my question. On the field, what are your expectations this week? What is everybody?
Rust.
I agree.
A lot of it.
I think we're going to see a mix, right? I think there's going to be moments where you're going to be like, that's why we got him.
That's why they went and got him.
Right?
I think
and there's going to be moments where you're like,
I think you're going to hear people, and I hope I'm wrong, but I think if they're down 17-3, you will hear cries for put Brissett in.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I don't think it's going to take much.
I don't think they'll be down 17-3 because I think he's that bad.
I don't either. But I think I just look back to now. He only threw what? He played 6 plays, 4 plays. He threw a pick. I think he played 4 plays.
Yeah.
He overthrew a receiver on his first ball. You expect him to do that. He's amped up. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that, look, you can't take a guy out of this is the highest caliber of talent in the world, and he hasn't done it against live ammunition in 2 years, almost.
Right.
To expect him to go out there and be 31 or 36 for 4 touchdowns and no picks.
That'd be foolish.
It's foolish to expect that.
You know, I had somebody tweet at me yesterday and say, I can't wait to see Deshaun Watson. I feel the same way, too. They said to me, he's the second best quarterback in the NFL. And I said,
no, that's gas.
First of all, he's not.
No.
The second best quarterback in the NFL. Could he be in the next few years? Sure. Yeah. That's possible. He's that kind of talent.
But
don't put don't put that kind of pressure on him right now.
Again, I came back, that goes back to the game plan. Now, you have to imagine, if I was away from the game for a while, I'm going to be rusty. It's going to take me a while to get some rhythm and cadence back into
and I think we're talking games, not quarters.
Yeah, not quarters, games, before I get myself back into a flow. But Stefanski has a luxury. My question is, will he deploy it?
In Chubb.
Yeah, will he deploy it?
Yeah.
Because that buys Watson time. I don't have to come here and say you got to make all the plays, right?
Right.
Now, I will, as the season went on, he got better with Jacoby. Like, let me let, especially the last few weeks, let me let him eat a little more. Let me let him eat a little more. And I'll hold Jacoby in a slot here. This is where I need you.
McNuggets,
that's the question
you want to do?
Yeah, we want to remind everybody that if you're not a member of the UCSS community, we do exclusive overtime content. We're going to talk a little Ohio State, little Cavs today on overtime. $1.99 a month gets you some cool emojis. $4.99 a month gets you that extra overtime content. And it's also getting really cold outside, and our friends over at Cleveland Whiskey have just released their Christmas bourbon. It's available now at all your local liquor stores to take home today. Cleveland Whiskey, whiskey without limits.
Cleveland Whiskey's, I don't know if has anybody had that yet, Cleveland Whiskey?
I have not. I plan on picking up a bottle.
Let me tell you, I'm not a whiskey guy, but I was given a promotional bottle, and I thought, I'll break this open once and give it a shot. It's different than other whiskeys. There's a smoothness to it. I was shocked because, again, I'm not a whiskey guy, so I thought, I'll take this, and a friend gave it to me, and I said, I'll give it a shot. And when I did, I'm like, this is going to be my go-to whiskey.
Ooh.
And it has nothing to do with the fact that it's from Cleveland. It's just, if I'm going to drink whiskey, because I'm not a whiskey drinker, it has to have that where when you finish it, you don't do one of these numbers. And it went down really smooth. And
I'm a whiskey guy. I'm a wild turkey. I do Jameson.
Ooh, wild turkey.
I'm all the
whiskeys. To me, that has some kick.
Oh, you got to have heart.
And while you're drinking your whiskey, become a member of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. For the $4.99 tier is the way to go. The $1.99 tier, I'm not even going to waste time with. The $4.99 tier gets you the bonus content. On the bonus content today, we'll be talking about the Buckeyes' embarrassing performance against Michigan. We'll talk about the Cavs a little bit. They got to win after losing to Milwaukee in an embarrassing third quarter by them on Friday night. That's all coming up. $4.99 a month for less than $60 a year. You will have all this bonus content that nobody else will have access to.
Yeah, and we thank those that have already become members. We think it's it's the biggest tribute that you can have. It's one thing to watch when the show is free.
Yeah.
I think the biggest honor and tribute you can have, Jason, you know this because you're working for a medium now where it's a paywall.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When they break through the paywall, those are the super fans. Those are the ones. And we're going to do something we haven't figured out yet, but we're going to do a personal interact with all of those folks that are in the area and that can get here.
That's right.
For the $4.99 members, some kind of a watch party with a Browns game at a local bar or something. I know that they're still working out details there, but we want to press the flesh, as they say, and break bread and drink beers with these folks that have paid us the ultimate compliment. I'll give you $5 a month for the extra content.
And by the way, for everybody, not just members, for everybody, if you want to join me, so for Friday's show, the rest of the guys are going to be in studio, but I will be doing my end of the show at the Clevelander in downtown Cleveland. I'm going to be there from 11 to 1. So I'll be doing my end of the show from there. I reached out to a bunch of people. I know
Do they
a lot
have good
of
internet there? Because the last time we tried this, didn't work so well.
I've done the radio show there a million times.
streams?
I know the manager. I know the owner.
Good.
We're going to be hard lined
Remember when Mike tried that just across the
Yeah.
It's like he's coming from Jupiter.
The Clevelanders used to it. We'll be down there. It's going to be great. I know a number of fans have told me they're coming already.
Good.
So come by
Awesome.
and say hi. I'll be there from 11 to 1.
One thing I want to go to today, and it didn't really factor into the game, but it could have.
Okay, Jay, before you do that,
You
can
have
I,
lost
can
my
I,
audio, by the way. I don't know what happened.
You probably came unplugged from your IFB box.
Can I throw something at you guys? Because
Sure.
I don't know. We kind of touched it off the top, but Njoku's catch.
Yeah.
Obviously, time and situation plays into greatest catch ever. But in Cleveland Browns history, at least since '99, where does that rank among some of your guys' top catches that any Browns ever made?
I can't think of one off the top of my head.
No, I can't
There's
either.
not here. I'm a long-time Brown guy. I can't even think of one. That catch was
Special.
That was a special catch.
If you think about it, it did save the season.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, if that ball hits the ground, the season is
Look, he caught that
At
with his
3 and 8,
he caught
you're
that
done.
in traffic with his left hand, one-handed.
Yeah.
Falling backwards.
He's an incredible athlete. You know, he was a New Jersey high school high jump champion. He jumped 7 feet. Now imagine how big a frame this guy has. Getting that entire body over something that's as tall as you are. Stand up.
He like, I'm old. He like, I'm
I
sick
think,
of
I think you got enough slack on your wire.
I'm pinned down, Jay.
Yeah, I think you're good. Try
pinned
it.
down, Jay.
Okay.
I can't. I'm pinned down, Jay.
You don't have enough slack.
No.
He already 6'5" right there in the squatting position.
Yeah, no,
got-
the core's not.
Someone asked Earl this weekend. He was telling us this morning.
He could jump over your body.
Yeah.
Someone asked Earl this morning. They go, not this morning, over the weekend. They go, is Brad really tall? And we're like, no, Brad's actually short. We just shoot him at weird
Well,
angles to make
well,
him
Like,
look
do they
so-
not know he played in the NBA?
So for the folks that want to know, do you want to imagine how high you just talked about in Njoku jump?
A doorway.
A doorway.
Yeah, that's what I always used
He's
to say.
jumping
My
over.
son.
He's jumping over your door. The doorway is 6'8".
Yep,
So
that's
you
what
put
I
4
would say.
more inches
Look
on
how
top
high
of
a
your
door
doorway,
is.
and that's how high Njoku
And
jumped.
with 4 inches to spare.
Yes.
It's hard to rank it because there may be other catches like that we just don't remember. Cause
I don't know. I think we'd remember him.
Yeah, I think so. It's weird.
It's like a Hail Mary that Tim threw when
in
they
the
first
mini
came
and in the
back.
maxi here. So in the moment, if this was a catch in the second quarter to keep a drive going, we'd be like, "What a catch!"
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It was to
Fourth
It
down.
was to keep the game going and to keep the season going.
Yeah.
And
you knew-
athletically, I don't know that we have seen anything.
And you
better
knew it was
than that.
special because did you see the defender's face after he got up? Like he couldn't believe
He's
that
draped on his leg.
that he made this freaking catch.
Jacoby said he thought he sailed it.
See,
He
bull.
didn't think there was any chance he could
Brissett
catch
said
it.
after the game, he's like, I thought he had no chance to catch
Right.
it.
And it looked like he did.
Earl says Braylon Edwards had a catch in 07 against the Rams that he thinks is better.
Oh yeah, in the end zone, the bottom
I have
left end
no-
zone.
I do not remember
it was
the catch.
against the old Rams too. That was in St. Louis. He dunked on somebody tough. It was a great catch. But I just want to, at this point in time, take my victory lap on the David Njoku signing. I was told that
Yeah, it's
I was
looking good.
I was a fool.
I
don't know about a fool.
I didn't love the
I
deal.
still say the Browns
Browns were
overpaid him
focused.
What
at
was
the
that?
time.
What
But
was
it's-
it?
I am a fool.
And what else?
The Browns,
called you a fool?
The Browns, they said they were fleeced in this deal. Not only is David Njoku look special, David Njoku is now getting flowers during the season. We usually have to wait for a tight end to see what the numbers look like. But when you make catches like this,
Now,
it just
all
look
that being
better.
said, he's in the ballpark of Kelsey in pay,
Yeah, and pay.
and he's not Kelsey.
and he's not Kelsey.
Well,
He's
here's
still
the-
overpaid,
It was
but he's
still
been
an
good.
overpay.
It's over.
I agree.
He's
The
having
Browns
a
really
great
felt
year.
they had to do it.
And
He
guess
has
what?
played. He's definitely played better than
His
we all.
best season,
by
I
far.
think, as a
It's
Brown.
supply and demand. It's like starting pitching
Yeah,
in
you're right.
baseball.
You
Here's
gotta
what,
pay
here's
for it.
what I will say. We still get to see Watson. And I waited too long to tell y'all this. I don't think Watson's going to look bad. I don't think he's going to come out and look with no rust.
No rust?
No. You know why?
Wow.
Stefanski's playbook it caters to middlings. The throws the middlings get, like Baker, look good. Them is hot and ready throws. $5 Little Caesars. You go right over there and grab it up, throw it over there. Jacoby Brissett, he got the $5 hollers. Them is ready to go. You get you some breadsticks and wings, and it's good.
But here's the problem, G. That may work for Jacoby Brissett What if you got a guy like Watson who feel like I'm a gunslinger? Don't be holding me
though.
I ain't taking no 2-3 footers. I'm going down the track with this thing. I'm dialing it in from 3.
And I think the play calls will reflect that. It's not the same playbook.
I'm excited for that. I think Kevin Stefanski, you ever see somebody who was smaller, and later in their life than they was, maybe they was bigger, maybe they wasn't as cool in high school, and all of a sudden they get a little money, they get a little money in your pocket, right? They get that first job. That means you got a good gym. You mess around, you done got on a supplement program, you eating good. Now all of a sudden you 10 years out. You go back to that high school reunion just to show you what you was really like. This is what I really was supposed to be back then. So people could say, oh my goodness, did you see Susie? Susie, oh my gosh.
She didn't look like that in high school.
Susie done grown all the way up. Kevin Stefanski going to tell you on Sunday in Houston, I done grown all the way up.
He's going to be Susie?
Where is these routes come from?
He's going to be hot?
Oh, he's going to come out there.
We'll see.
5 wide.
Are you scared about that, though, G. Bush? Because we've always talked about, and all year, we've talked about Stefanski outsmarting himself.
Hold on. Who you gonna go 5 wide with?
Oh, these times, listen.
Wide.
These 5. If they come out here and they got Hunt and
Njoku, DPJ.
You're out of bullets right there.
The Browns are undefeated when Schwartz gets the ball. Schwartz is back.
You go 5 wide with
Schwartz is back. He caught one pass, got upfield, and got that reverse.
You go 5 wide and tell you
there's not a team in football that's got 5 good wide receivers, so you can go 5 wide.
Eagles can do it. Eagles last night it was
they're just guys besides the top 2.
No, they're not just guys.
Donovan people
they are.
No, they're not.
Who's Quez Watkins is somebody? He's not any better than the schlubs the Browns have on the bench.
Really? They've got a Heisman Trophy winner from 2 years ago that might be one of the best route runners in the NFL.
Who?
Smith.
Yeah, their top 2 guys are great, not 5. You said 5.
They ran 5 wide yesterday.
Oh, and anybody can run 5 wide.
You don't have to have 5 Pro Bowlers.
Get the graphic
you have to have 5 guys that can catch the ball.
Get the graphic ready.
We don't have that.
Oh, come on.
Look what you've done. This is your fault.
Let me get back to this.
Look,
Mom and Dad are fighting again.
I don't
The Eagles have 2 receivers.
Here's what we're going to do.
By the way, listen to this stat.
No, hold on.
Listen to the stat real quick. Hold on. Listen to the stat real quick.
Nuggets is trying to take control.
Tom Brady was 2-18-0 with a 7-point lead a minute to go in the game.
Yeah,
We had that on tag board, but no, we're gonna.
Nobody's paying attention to tag board. Go ahead.
We're gonna have you guys go back. Let's have the middle here decide the winner of this debate. Do the Eagles have 5 good receivers? G. Bush, Jason, and Brad. This is how we're gonna settle
Nobody
the
has
between
5
Jay
good
and Bull from now
receivers.
on.
Stop it.
These are the 5 receivers that played last night for the Eagles.
Okay.
A.J. Brown.
Yes.
All right.
Devonta Smith.
Both tier 1 guys.
Quez Watkins.
Okay.
Just a guy.
I put him tier 1 guy too.
What?
Because he gets so much spillover when those guys are coming.
Keep going, Mike.
Keep going.
Zach Pascal.
No, I don't know.
Just a guy. Nothing. He's a nothing.
And Grant Calcaterra.
Come on.
How many guys had?
They're guys that
how
they
many
have
wide
2 receivers.
caught balls last night?
Receivers or tight ends?
Guys, they have 2 receivers.
They had
Just stop it.
353 yards rushing.
I'm going to give him 3 receivers.
They don't have 3. Who's 3?
I know who Pascal is.
That guy's just a guy. He's been around the league, done nothing.
Pascal did not make a catch yesterday.
You take him,
What's the most yards Zach Pascal has ever had in a season? 300?
In a season?
Yeah.
No, I bet you it's more than that.
Yeah,
Look it up.
400?
Let me go back to my point.
I'll tell you right now.
DPJ.
Why are we arguing about the Eagles?
I'm not.
Because the Browns don't have that.
I'm trying to go back. I'm trying to go back to this.
All right.
DPJ. He has gotten
He's had 700
remarkably better during the
Or
season.
650.
And I'm gonna tell you,
650. Wow.
Double what you said. You thought he had 300.
Whatever.
We're
He's
still
just a guy.
talking about the Eagles. Nobody cares.
Because these guys are saying ridiculous things that these guys have 5 wide
I'm trying
receivers.
to make a statement about DPJ.
Say it.
All right.
That you were wrong about him.
Where's my hood?
I will admit.
You guys were killing him. You guys were killing him
Can I
before
make
the
my
season.
statement?
DPJ's number 2, right?
Can I make my statement?
Yes, go ahead.
Please.
DPJ has gotten remarkably better during the season.
Yes, he has.
And I want to tell you why I think he's gotten better. When they put him back to return those punts, he has no fear now. He tracked one down yesterday in traffic.
Yeah.
Not blinking, right? If you notice when he runs these routes now, he's not blinking. He's like, he's looking forward. He's like, I can catch this thing in
He
traffic.
caught one ball where he just got.
And I was like,
after.
whoa, because the worst thing is, you know what, you got to go back there and retrieve a punt, and you know they screaming down the field at you. Oh man, how many people have you been seeing get shaky on this
It's
thing?
a wet football. And you got it. It's windy.
The Chiefs fumbled their first punt return yesterday.
Sky Moore.
I was like, so that has done him a world of good.
Yeah,
because
I haven't thought of that, but that's a good point because you're going to take fire the second you catch the ball, and it's the same thing when you're going over the middle. He's been really.
So at first he was returning punts like this, just catching it, fair catching. He wasn't going anywhere. Now lately he's been trying to return these things like, oh my God.
By the way, Ford as a kickoff returner.
You're trying to get up. You're trying to get upfield.
But the cool thing about that is, Brad, he's developed in inopportune circumstances, right? So now when you get a quarterback back that can make all the throws, that is going to be reading a little bit quicker, extending plays, now he's already seasoned. They've been through it with it not looking good. They've been through the season. So now you got guys on the offense. The offensive line is a little banged up, but Njoku has gotten better. Donovan Peoples-Jones got better. We see Amari Cooper starting to look like, people say he disappeared a little bit, but heck, he making up for it.
But I'm going to tell you, since you said the one thing, so he's gotten better. I think the punt returns have done it. But I'm going to just tell you, you said something about the line. That Jedrick Wills. Oh my God.
He's struggling.
Jedrick Wills, Jay.
It was a bad pick. I think we can label that pick a miss.
But there again, you have supply and demand. I don't know how you upgrade that spot.
I don't either.
They can't. He's adequate enough.
And I said it flippantly earlier.
You're taking that high though. You can't be adequate.
No, the pick is not a good pick. I don't disagree with you there, but it's going to be hard to get somebody better.
Right.
Speaking of picks, I was all supportive of Cade York. I know that he missed again yesterday. His miss yesterday was like
that was awful.
That's like if G. Bush came out of the stands.
My God.
In the halftime contest.
I'm not kicking in.
Did you see his face when he missed that kick?
He's too clean to be kicking outside. Why would I kick in these fuchsia pink J's? Why would I do that?
You might have looked better though doing that.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about that. He's 17 for 23.
We'll get the stats up in 1 sec.
And I know 3 have been blocked, which is inexcusable.
But there was a debate. There's a debate whether or not it is the holder.
Yeah.
Now, this idea that every time he misses, we're going to blame the holder.
No,
I mean,
no,
come
that's
on.
not fair.
First of all, I know that Jay Feely has talked about, but Jay Feely gave a couple of stats, and I think they're a little misleading. First of all, he said Tyler Bass, the Bills kicker, had his worst year with Bjorkes.
Yes.
Okay, which is technically true. But here's the thing. Bass has only been in the league 3 years.
Right.
His rookie year was with Bjorkes. He still kicked over 80%.
Yeah.
It's not like he had a bad year. In
No,
fact,
it's just his. I don't think Jay called the year bad. He just said it was his worst.
But okay.
And that's correct.
But here's the worst year.
And it also happened with Mason last year.
That's not correct. It was actually his second worst year with Mason.
Well, I think his body of work is much bigger.
Right.
Mason.
But here's the thing with Bass. So Bass's rookie year was with Bjorkes.
Yes.
The second year, his percentage was a little better. He made the exact same amount of field goals. He had 2 more misses.
Right.
They were both over 50 yards. I hardly think 2 extra misses of 50 yards plus is going to blame the punter.
Now to that, so Jay, when he looks at this, I had a long conversation with Jay about this topic.
Yeah.
It's not fair just to look at the misses and see whether or not the hold was good or bad. Jay said a great kicker makes a bad holder look great. I asked him, is this similar to a pitcher-catcher relationship? That's what I know. I can't expertly speak on this because I just don't know. I wanted to go to someone who has done it at that level. I do know the relationship between a pitcher and catcher. Most of it, if you've ever talked to guys about this relationship, it's mostly up here. But it's a thing. It's real.
That's why some pitchers have their personal catcher.
And that's exactly why.
What I'd like, did you ask Jay specifically, is he basing his criticism of Bjorkes on the numbers, which I think were slightly misleading, or is he actually seeing something?
So it's different. It's almost like if a novice golf fan looks at a guy's putt stats and makes his decision based off the final number.
Right.
Because that's not the way you do it. He said it's also not the way you judge kickers. There's a lot of things that go into kicking that we don't even get. We don't even understand. Most of it's timing. But what Jay said was it's absolutely like the relationship between a pitcher and catcher, but this was the funny part that is he's absolutely true on, because even though it's mostly mental when I'm pitching to a guy that I would rather pitch to my normal catcher, it's mostly mental, and I realize that by the 3rd or 4th inning, and it's fine. But it's a thing. But what Jay said was, unlike a relationship between a pitcher and catcher, the catcher can never make the pitcher miss. The holder can absolutely make the kicker miss.
Well,
and so it's so technical. It's like a pole vault. If you watch a guy that pole vaults, there's so many moving parts to that. One of them is off slightly, it's a miss. You can't make if everything isn't perfect. And Jay said, as fans, we have now taken for granted the process of snap, catch,
right about
place, kick. We take that for granted.
So did he say Bjorkes is not a good holder?
He said he doesn't. First of all, he's not gonna roll on him. He doesn't want to do that. But he said it is true that the kicker in Green Bay and the kicker in Buffalo were not themselves when he was the holder. He also said that Prefer has made the point to talk about how much Bjorkes has worked on becoming a better holder. They knew it was a deficiency of his when he came here. He told me, not in this chain, he told me years ago when he was talking about that the mistake the game has made is to say that the backup quarterback is going to be there. He said that's a terrible mistake because we've just said that's a round peg, he's got to go in this hole.
Right.
If you had an open tryout, it's an interesting skill set. It really is.
There's a science to it.
It actually should be a wide receiver. If you think about the skill set that a player has, the hands, the quick and reliable hands. A lot of snap's not always here. Great holders will get one here, and now it's different. Now he's got to not move the ball 8 inches for the plays. He's got to go 20 inches to the plate.
And then spin.
And spin
But that would
laces.
probably have to be something that the wide receiver's done for a while, not just when he gets to the NFL.
Well, here's the thing. The reason it's Bjorkes is because you're a special team guy, so you must be a holder.
You got
I
time,
just think
and you got
I think
time
in
to
the
work.
end,
Right, you've got time, and you're not like wide receivers. How much time are they actually going to spend on it? But if you look at the skill set needed to be a good holder, it's funny that we've said for many years it'll be the backup quarterback or it will be the punter. Well, in reality, the relationship is it's like stacking blocks, and if any one of them is off, the building falls. Yeah. He doesn't want to put all of it on Bjorkes, and I understand why he doesn't want to do that. Also, the fact that this is Cade York's rookie season, statistically, almost every kicker's worst season is his
But that's why the
rookie
Buffalo
year.
thing is unfair, because that was his rookie season.
Because it's a small sample size.
Right.
But with Mason, it's a little different.
But it
Crosby's
wasn't
been in
his
the league.
worst year. It wasn't Mason's worst year.
It was his second worst year. It was close to his worst year.
Yeah.
It was very close.
So I'll equate it to this. So to your point is in basketball, the person that can set a player up to your prime scorer. They like the ball where they like it. You got to deliver it where they like it. And everybody can't deliver it, right? There was a difference, right? There were guys on the wing like Bill Cartwright and them liked it because I could drop it to them where they wanted it, right? I know where to put it to you.
Entry into the post.
Right. If I've got a back door, you got to throw a lob to somebody, right? You better know how to get it there and know
what they want,
where you want it, when they want it, right? And I don't have to say go. I can just give you a raise of an eyebrow, and you know to go to it. I'm gonna go to it, right? So there's a systematic way. So I can get it, right? So if that is a problem for the Browns.
Yeah, but we don't know that, guys.
I'm just saying.
No,
I'm saying
we don't know that. And we've spent 5 minutes giving Cade York a pass for a field goal he's got to
Not a pass. Not a pass.
Yeah.
I just said if there is a problem,
then get rid of Bjorkes.
Then you figure it out, but you're not going to figure it out now.
No, and they won't talk to us about it either.
Yeah, listen.
Jay said that's something that is very, very personal between the holder and the kicker and the special teams coach. He would know if there is a relationship problem, and I don't mean that they don't get along.
No, just not a good fit.
Like there's just it comes down to home run derby. A lot of times, you know where you like the ball, just to your setup. And it's not that you're not good at throwing home run derby. It's just you don't do it the way the hitter.
Bottom line is make the kicks. Make the friggin' kicks.
Here's the thing. If Jay Feely knows all this and he's telling you this verse, I've heard of all this.
Yeah.
Obviously, Bjorkes has a reputation around the league as this.
In the circles of the special teams world.
Right.
Not to fans. Like fans don't know
of course
it.
not.
But Jay watches this stuff for a living.
Prefer knows it.
Prefer knows it too.
Inside baseball, they know.
Well, then why didn't they get another punter?
Because his
not been
primary
punting that
job
great
was to
either.
punt, not to, but as you're talking, I'd never thought about this before. There's a long snapper. Like his job
is to get it where they can get the hold out.
I wonder because listen, the kicking game is so critical now to whether you win
You're
or lose.
winning or losing if you're making your kicks.
Are we going to get to the point where a holder takes up a spot on the 53?
No.
I'm not saying this year or next year, But
when you go to camp,
things are so
when you
specialized.
think about how important
now.
it is.
When I went to camps in college, right? You go to camps in college. I went to Ohio State. I went to Michigan. You go to these places in Notre Dame. You go to these camps. They hold snapping competitions, right?
Yeah.
Long snappers, punters, snappers, all that good stuff.
They're looking for them.
You can get a scholarship on demand.
Look at Charlie.
Just
the career he's had.
He
does one thing.
I know.
And he does it well.
And if you can snap under a certain time and it's on and it's hitting, you get a scholarship leaving camp. And
York, make the kicks.
And you can't
make the
touch
kicks.
them.
Make the kicks. Make the freaking
And
kicks.
I'm still not worried about him.
I'm fine with him, but he's got to make those kicks.
Yes.
That's it.
Especially from 39. But he did miss so badly on that you think something had to happen. Something had to happen.
Maybe he was,
Somebody texted me that it was
cold.
deflected, but they didn't.
They were awful yesterday on showing replays. There was a play that was it was a challenge play that we challenged, and we went to commercial break, and when they came back,
Fox always does that.
Tampa Bay was running a play, and they're like, well, the challenge was unsuccessful.
Fox is an abomination.
We never saw a replay of it, not one time.
Who's the analyst again? He's awful.
Jonathan Vilma. I'm okay with Jonathan.
He's medium.
Can he pronounce anybody's name right? Like, that's your job. Learn how to pronounce a guy's name.
Hold on. What is he?
He medium sauce. He's not even mild sauce.
He said Jeremiah Orulu Kalamo. I mean, come on. It's your job to pronounce the guy's name.
Go ahead.
What's up, Mikey?
We got to get to some internet
Mark
questions
Sanchez
before
sucks
we
too.
do
Go ahead,
final
Mike.
takes. Whenever we ask the internet a question, it's brought to us by our good friends at PCC Airfoils. Looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is the leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Mentor, Wycliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. This one comes from Donnie M.
Good news, by the way. Mike just moved to Minerva. We're all very excited about that. Congratulations, Mike. Living in Minerva now. Yeah.
No.
He's making it up.
Oh, okay.
But
Come on,
shout
Mikey.
out Minerva.
Come
We
on,
like
Mikey.
Minerva.
Come on, Mikey.
This from Donnie M. He says, fellas, Watson brings a totally different dynamic to this team. If we get the 2020 Watson right off the bat, and that's a big if, who do you think we lose to in our remaining games? Remember, we're a penalty away from being 3-0 in the division.
Does the Browns' defense still suck? That's the question.
I'm going to tell you what.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to tell you what. Browns' defense sucks, but it's something to be said for Jordan coming wearing that 45.
Watson makes
I was just about to bring that up because you just made me think about that. I said, remember he was away from the game, right?
That Jordan 45.
Jay, how long did it take him before he started looking like Jordan?
I was
when he first came back, he wasn't looking like Jordan.
No, it took a year, really. I mean, what happened in his
And
first year
Deshaun
back?
Watson ain't Jordan.
The first game back, it was atrocious.
19 points.
It was atrocious.
I believe it
took a while. It took a while.
He was the best when he left.
I retort on that. He came back against the Pacers, 19 points, I believe, but then he dropped 50.
No, the year.
Oh, the year. I was just saying he did drop 50 when he came back.
He's going to have moments.
He's going to have great moments.
Balls where we say
when
he's back,
But
we're
when
good.
you got back to consistent Jordan, it took a minute.
It took a season.
It took a minute.
We can hope for the best. If you're going to con yourself into believing they're going to win 7 in a row, fine. I hope they do.
Look,
but,
Jay, he went the full year and 45, and then he had to shed that. He was like, give me this other thing
But
back here.
I will say Deshaun Watson has one thing that can make you look better than you are. And Andy Reid did a good enough job with that with Mike Vick. He said, you got your legs. We're going to use that until you get comfortable.
The problem is on the
You don't want to.
he might get popped.
Yeah, you don't want
They've
that
been
to
popping
happen.
people.
That's the worst. I told you that's the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is he come back, he's balling, he looked good, and all of a sudden, whoops.
He hadn't taken a hit in 700 days. A real hit.
You
I don't want to be in a car crash right away.
You want to limit that.
Let's do fender benders.
Limit that.
See, there's a catch 22 with this, and I think he's going to come out trying to play, and he's going to be running the ball out himself.
You know who's smart though? Your boy Jalen Hurts is pretty smart because when it look like he about to get popped, he going out of bounds.
Yeah, but by the way,
I'm like
he is so thick and sturdy. He's not. I mean, like he's just.
But he's still not
600 pounds.
But he's still not trying to take no hits. See,
No,
like,
he's good at getting out of
I'm not
bounds.
taking no hits.
They need to
he and Lamar are both pretty good at getting out of bounds.
They need to employ that that Heineke, take a knee and then sit there and wait for him to fake that knee.
Yeah. And then take the hit and get the penalty.
Get that 15.
Are we going to do?
We got final takes. We got 11 minutes for final takes, so everyone make sure you keep them to a relative length. Bo, you're up first.
All right, guys. Well, Saturday was an awful day for the Buckeyes. They were embarrassingly awful. And we'll talk about whether or not Ryan Day should be fired later this week. I mean, all those wins against Indiana are meaningful. But despite that, Saturday was a fantastic day. It was a great day. I had fun. First, we went to Jay's palatial estate for the game. Jay and his wife and his son were great hosts. We had a great time. Jason was there. G no-showed. I don't know what happened to him.
I almost stole it.
I mean,
what was?
The soap is delicious.
You know, Brad.
Even your soap.
So good. I told my wife I was going to steal it because there's so many people there who'll never know.
How's that?
Jay's
boys
man
gotta
cave is off the charts.
Unbelievable.
My son had fun. Jason's son had fun. We brought them there.
That was my favorite part was watching your kids interact and have a blast.
They were making up games. They were having so much fun, those guys.
Themselves.
And so that was a great, great afternoon. We had a lot of fun, all of us together. And then Saturday night, Leroy Horde was in town, and he invited G and I for dinner. He invited some of the other guys. You guys, Jay couldn't come. Mike was out of
had
town.
to take a pass.
And I thought that it was just going to be me, G, and Leroy at dinner.
Yeah.
And Leroy never rolls like that.
So I show up at Johnny's. I'm the first one there. Leroy gets there like 2 minutes later. And we go to the table, and I'm like, this is like a table for 12 people. I'm
in
like,
the corner? Was it the corner up front?
It wasn't the corner, but it was up front, but it was like the second table.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Leroy, who else is coming? He's like, oh, Bernie's coming, Eric Metcalf. He's like, you know the golfer Jason Duffner? He's coming too. So this was, so I got Jason Duffner on my right. I got G. Bush on my left. Right. Leroy's across from me. Bernie Kosar's across from G. We had a ball. So between Jay's house in the afternoon and dinner with those guys at night, what a day it was. Fantastic time.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. And those dinners are the stories.
Oh, my God.
I wish we could tell them here.
Oh,
Most of them we cannot.
God.
That's under a double pay.
Between Bernie and Leroy?
And Leroy together.
Well, Eric Metcalf came a little later.
Yeah.
Oh, did he?
Showed up at the end.
But Duffner I didn't even, you pulled me in. I didn't even know how famous he was.
He was, yeah.
Really?
Until
you guys aren't huge golf fans.
No.
Until I was like talking, and he just started.
He was cool.
Name dropping these dudes.
Awesome.
He was talking about Tiger. He was talking about all this stuff. It was awesome.
Hell, man. And then there was a lawyer over there, from Auburn, and a guy who owned a construction company, and I got in those conversations too.
That was Bernie's buddy, right?
Yeah.
And
Bernie
by the way,
some interesting dinner friends.
By the way, by the way, G at the end of the night, G pulled an incredible disappearing act. He was just gone.
Yeah.
He didn't say goodbye to anybody.
So listen,
Irish goodbye.
I was like, "Where's G? Where'd he go?"
Bull was, hey, how you guys doing? It was a lot of commotion.
Yeah.
I looked at the shot clock. The shot clock was running down on me.
Yeah.
Now listen, you don't understand. I don't never go out. So when you start going out automatically,
it was late.
It was, and I went out with
And that crew can keep you 4 hours.
And I went out with Anthony Lyman the day after that.
Yeah.
So if you go,
we were there basically 4 hours.
That's
right?
what they do.
It was like 7 to 11.
That's what they do.
My wife was
We
like,
shut the place down.
You gotta come home.
Are you going to be home soon?
We gotta come home 'cause I'm getting
before
pressed
sundown?
over here.
I said sundown.
Sundown.
Stop playing.
Is this her first?
All right, let's swing it. Tell
Hey,
him.
Bush going out?
Going out. Yeah.
Brad's back teeth are floating, man. We gotta
Oh,
go.
my God. Go ahead, Brad.
That's where we
Got to
are.
go to the bathroom.
I'm pressed to the point. I'm sorry I missed this dinner, right?
Yeah, it was
I
good.
was down in Fort Myers following Cheyenne and them play down in the tournament down there.
nice.
So, but I will say this: cause in my '92 down in Florida, yes, it was all week. I was like, this is nice. Let me tell you this. I just want to make sure that, and I've harped on this situation periodically in our final takes. I'm gonna need Biden and them to get on their job about this Brittany Griner thing, right? She's not doing a hard time over there, right? In some obscure place in Moscow, in Russia, in a penal colony.
Whatever the hell that
And
is.
they say the people who have served in it said it is just god awful, right? And I'm saying, okay, if this is a wrongful detainment, a political prisoner, whatever you want to call it, what are your efforts here, right? See, because the Russians are playing for keeps. When we play for keeps, I said, this girl, you can get lost out here. You can get lost in the message out here. When you sit in your own house and everything, warm with heat and everything else, right? So if this is a wrongful detainment, right? If the United States would qualify this as a wrongful detainment, what are we really doing? And I'm reminded by this because Dawn Staley made a point of it a couple weeks ago when I was in College Park when South Carolina was playing Maryland, right? Her thing was like, what are we doing here, right? Because I don't see any activity. And I don't want to make sure that it gets lost. Not that they're not working behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Who
but
knows
but I say this, though. I'm in the game, Bull.
Yeah.
You can put things on the back burner real easy here, right? By just saying a few words like I'm doing something, but you're really not doing nothing, right? This person, she is doing hard time over there. And if you say, and I'll go back to this, if you say it's a wrongful detainment, what pressure are you amping up against them? Besides, what I see is this, and I hope it's not the case. Well, we'll wait till they tell us and give us the high sign to go, right? What are you doing to keep pressure on them, right?
Has our government deemed it a wrongful detention?
We have, yes. We have. She's been deemed wrongfully detained.
Then she would be looked at as a political prisoner.
Yes.
So I didn't know that they classified her as that. I felt that they classified her as she was in a foreign country and broke their rules and now has to serve
They've classified her as she's been wrongfully detained.
I did not know that.
And that was 2 months ago.
But in fairness, we don't know what's going on.
But that just
I would hope there's discussion.
That just goes to show you
and
that
she's not the only American in prison.
But I'm not saying she is. But I'm saying this. I want to know at some point, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm sure parents want to know.
Of course. Of course. I mean, you'd be horrified if your parents.
Jay?
I'll be quick because Brad's got to pee. And I want to follow up on, Jay, I heard your final take last week, and it kind of hit home with me as well. My wife works for a homeless shelter in Cleveland. She does some admin work for them. So last week, I was able to go. I joined her and my kids the day before Thanksgiving and the guy who runs the shelter. And we went to an area of Cleveland that I drive by every single day and never knew existed. And it's run by a Cleveland Metropolitan Housing Authority. Mm-hmm. And it's blocked by the big condos on Detroit, so you can't see it as you drive down the road.
Of course.
And as I was talking to the director of the shelter, and he was explaining to me like it's meant to be this way. It was actually a fallout of the war where they held people during the war, and now they put people who have nothing here, and this guy knows where everyone lives and knocks and delivers sandwiches to the shut-ins, and made his route. And we talked to some of the people, and they were so thankful. One of the women was in tears because we handed her a turkey sandwich. Yeah. And she sat there and cried over it. And I just want to reiterate the point Jay made last week. Like, listen, these people are hungry year-round, and we shine awareness on it around the holidays because that's the thing to do. But they're hungry in January, February, and March, and April as well. And it was good for me to see. And I almost didn't go. And my wife's like, you can come too. And I had some other things I wanted to do. And I could tell by the tone of her voice.
Yeah, you need to come see this.
I probably need to go. Mm-hmm. And so I went, and I'm grateful that I did. It was a great day. It was a joyful day. And I'll just reiterate the point that Jay made last week. If you have an extra couple bucks, give it to the Cleveland Food Bank. Give it to some of these places who can turn it into life-saving meals for people who have nothing. And it really put in perspective what we have. And I left that day and told my kids, look at how blessed we are. Look at what we take for granted. Right. Look at how these people are living and look how we live. And it was a great day. It was a fun day. Made some new friends along the way. And I would just encourage all of you to get involved with the food bank. And there's others. It doesn't have to be them. And help people who have less than you.
Even if you don't have money, you have time.
It's easy not to think about it, right? Because it's
Yeah.
I had someone a couple years ago tell me we were feeding some homeless folks, and when you're in that moment, you get to know them and you share they share everything. And she was crying because she was thankful for the meal that she had, and she said, "As thankful as I am for today, I'm more concerned about tomorrow because
nobody should be homeless in America.
People forget about us on the Friday after Thanksgiving. That's why I'm glad you said what you said. Yeah. The need is there 365. It doesn't matter if it's Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Day. The need never goes away.
It has to become important to people.
If you can give with money or time is invaluable to some of these operations, please do.
Jeebus, your final take should be about what Leroy said to us.
Well, I got another one. I got to get to him later. I will tell you this. I've been trying to get into public speaking a lot, and I was reached out to by Ian. He's the founder, and he works inside the Cuyahoga County Juvenile Detention Center. He reached out to me after hearing one of my final takes, and he said, hey, would you mind coming down to talk to some of the kids? I said,
in Highland Hills?
Heck yeah.
Is that is he with the Kenny Anderson?
Yes.
I've met him.
Yes.
Do it. Do it.
So I'm locked in to do that. I believe on the 9th I'm going out there to see some of the kids.
Yeah, I've been over there.
And it's just a good opportunity.
Ian's a winner, man.
To talk to some of these great kids and some of the people and adults and tell them that life isn't over and continue to encourage those individuals. And then, we talk about, like Brad always says, the wraparound services, to see somebody that comes in there and says, hey, you're not done yet. No. You got a lot to look forward to. So definitely I'm going to reach out to them. Shout out to Ian.
Good job, Eddie.
Ian works a full-time job, but works another full-time job helping kids.
Crazy.
What he does, I'm glad you're involved in that. It's awesome. We're out of time. My final take is Brad's going to be in the bathroom in 60 seconds. 22-hour break. We're back tomorrow. Enjoy your Browns. Victory Monday!